The first thing that bothered me was how calm the woman sounded. Not scared, not screaming, just tired. It was almost 2 in the morning, and the dispatch room had gone quiet in that strange way it only does late at night. The kind of quiet where every little sound feels too loud. Keyboard clicks, radio static, the hum from the vending machine near the hallway. I remember staring at the rain sliding down the small window beside my desk when the emergency line lit up. No caller ID. That happens sometimes in the mountains. I answered anyway. 911, what's your emergency? For a few seconds, all I heard was weak static. Then a woman spoke. I think I'm lost. Her voice crackled in and out, like she was calling from very far away. I pulled my headset tighter. Ma'am, what's your location? Another pause. Then I heard something strange. Not words. Trees. I know that sounds stupid, but when you spend enough years answering emergency calls, you learn how to recognize background sounds. Traffic, TVs, dogs barking, wind through open windows. This sounded like endless forest, branches creaking, leaves moving, and somewhere far behind her, metal tapping softly, like something hitting a road sign over and over. I don't know where I am, she whispered. I was following a highway, and then my GPS told me to turn. I typed quickly into the system. Okay, what highway? I don't know anymore. Her breathing shook a little after that. Not panic, more like exhaustion, like she'd been driving for hours. What's your name? Emily. Okay, Emily, are you injured? No. Is your vehicle working? Yes. Then stay inside the car and keep your doors locked for me, okay? The tapping sound came again. Clink, clink, clink. Closer this time. I looked at the call timer. 3 minutes. Usually by then, I already had a patrol car moving, but her phone wasn't giving us coordinates. Nothing, just blank data. That almost never happened. I tried tracing the tower manually. Still nothing. Emily, look around for any signs. Mile markers, road names, anything. For a moment, I thought the call dropped. Then she said something that made my stomach tighten. There's a marker. Good. What does it say? Another long silence. It says 18. 18 what? I don't know. It just says mile marker 18. I opened county maps on the second monitor. Nothing matched. No fire roads. No service roads. No county roads ending at 18. Rain hit harder against the building windows. The dispatcher beside me glanced over. You good? I nodded without looking at her. Emily, are there any other signs nearby? No. What do you see outside the vehicle? Trees. Anything else? She hesitated. Someone standing near the road. Every muscle in my shoulders tightened. Can you describe them? No. Why not? Another pause. Because I can't really see them. The tapping sound stopped. Dead silent. I swallowed slowly. Emily, listen carefully. Are they moving toward your car? I don't think so. You don't think so? They were farther away a second ago. A cold feeling crawled up my arms. I zoomed deeper into regional maps. Nothing. No mile marker 18 anywhere in county records. Not even abandoned roads. I radioed the nearest deputy anyway. Unit 12. Possible stranded motorist somewhere north of Black Pine Highway. Female caller unable to confirm location. The deputy answered immediately. North side's 40 miles wide. Got anything better? No coordinates yet. I heard him sigh into the radio. Then Emily spoke again. He moved. I sat straighter. How close is he now? I can see him better. What does he look like? Her breathing changed. Fast now. Confused. That's weird. What is... He looks wet. Rain drummed harder outside my office. He's just standing there. Can you see his face? No. Is he carrying anything? No. I kept waiting for her to say weapon, or flashlight, or phone, anything normal. Instead, she whispered, I think he's barefoot. The room suddenly felt colder. I asked her to honk the horn. No response from the figure. Then I told her to flash headlights. That's when she stopped talking completely. Emily? Nothing. Emily, are you there? I heard breathing, very soft. Then, he's gone. Relief hit me for maybe half a second, until she added, "No, wait." The line crackled violently, and suddenly her voice became distant, like she'd moved the phone away from her mouth. "Oh my God! Emily, what happened?" "He's behind the car." I stood up so fast my chair rolled backward. "Start the vehicle right now." "It is running." "Drive." "I can't." "Why not?" Her answer came out trembling. "Because the road is gone." For a second, I honestly thought I heard her wrong. "What do you mean the road is gone?" I looked in the mirror. Her breathing turned shaky. "There's only trees behind me now." I felt my pulse in my throat. "Emily!" "Listen carefully to me. Put the car in reverse." I tried. "What happened?" The tires hit dirt. A sharp burst of static screamed through my headset. Then silence. Not normal silence. Heavy silence. Like the woods themselves were listening. I checked the timer. 9 minutes. The deputy still hadn't found anything. I muted my headset for a second. "Can you ping this phone again?" I asked the tech operator. He frowned at the monitor. "It's weird." "What?" "The signal keeps moving." "How?" He turned the screen toward me. The tower bounce was jumping all over the county. North Woods, East Ridge, near the river. Impossible distances within seconds. Like the call itself was drifting. Then Emily suddenly whispered, "He's touching window." Every hair on my neck stood up. I heard nothing now. No rain, no tapping, no wind, just her breathing. And another sound, a soft squeak, like a wet hand sliding slowly across glass. "Emily, do not get out of the vehicle." He's looking inside. "Can you lock the doors?" "They're locked." "Okay, good." He looked sick. "What do you mean?" I think, her voice cracked. I think something happened to his face. A loud bang exploded through the headset. She screamed. I nearly ripped the headset off. "Emily," another bang. Metal this time, like someone hitting the trunk. Then another, and another. The deputy radio suddenly burst alive. "Dispatch," I found something. I grabbed the mic. "Go ahead." There's an old fire road off Black Pine. Wasn't on GPS gates rusted shut. My chest tightened. "What's the road called?" Silence. Then, "There's no name." I looked back at the monitor. The signal had stopped moving. One fixed point, deep in the woods. The deputy kept talking. One older man whispered for nearly 20 minutes while hiding inside his truck. He kept saying something was walking circles around the vehicle. Not running, not rushing, just walking slowly, patiently, like it knew he couldn't leave. Another woman claimed the road behind her disappeared while she was parked, just like Emily. She cried the entire call, not screaming, just quiet crying, the kind that sounds hopeless. Then suddenly she stopped mid-sentence. I remember checking if the call dropped. It hadn't. Someone else was breathing into phone. Slow, wet, almost curious. Then the woman spoke again, except it didn't sound like fear anymore. She sounded calm, too calm, like someone half asleep. "He says I should come outside." Those were the last words before the line went dead. After the 8th call, dispatch supervisors contacted state police. That's when things became even stranger, because according to official records, Route 18 didn't exist anymore. Not just closed, erased. Old county maps showed fragments of it decades ago, but newer systems had nothing. Digital records skipped over the entire area like blank space. One state investigator actually laughed during the meeting. He thought we were building ghost stories around unrelated emergency calls, until he listened to the recordings, especially the background sounds, because every single call contained the same noises: rain, metal tapping, and distant movement in the woods. Even when callers came from different counties, different phones, different nights. One audio technician slowed down the static from Darren's call. He thought there might be another voice hidden underneath. I was there when he played it back. I wish I hadn't been. At first it sounded like normal interference. Then we heard whispering, very faint, layered over itself. Dozens of voices talking at once. Not random words. The same sentence repeated over and over. Pull over. The technician stopped the recording halfway through. His face looked pale. What the hell is that? Nobody answered him, because buried underneath all those whispers, there was another sound. Footsteps. Wet footsteps crunching gravel. Getting closer. Then there was Deputy Torres. He's the reason I finally stopped thinking this was some kind of coincidence. Torres volunteered to search the Black Pine area alone one night after another emergency call disconnected. Experienced deputy. Former military. Not the type who scared easily. His radio stayed active for almost an hour. At first, everything sounded normal. Engine noise. Occasional updates. Then around 1:17 a.m., he reported finding tire tracks leading into the woods. Not onto a road. Directly through trees. Like a vehicle had driven where no vehicle should fit. Dispatch asked him to wait for backup. He refused. I still remember the exact change in his voice 10 minutes later. Quiet. Confused. Dispatch. I found a marker. The room froze. What marker? Long silence. Then, 18. Static cracked through radio. Torres kept breathing heavily. Something's wrong here. Explain. Another silence. Then he whispered, there are cars out here. How many? I can't tell. My skin prickled. Describe what you see. They're lined up between the trees. I heard his boots crunch slowly across gravel. Then his voice dropped lower. They look old. How old? Some of these cars are covered in dirt. A pause. Oh, God. What? The plates. My grip tightened on the headset. What about them? They don't match the years. Then came another pause. Longer this time. When he spoke again, he sounded terrified. There are people inside. My heart nearly stopped. Are they alive? No answer. Torres. Static swallowed the line. Then I heard something else. Metal tapping. Close to his radio. Clink, clink, clink. Torres suddenly started breathing hard. Dispatch. What is it? There's someone standing between the cars. Every dispatcher in the room stared at me. Nobody made a sound. Torres whispered again. I think it sees me. Then his radio cut out completely. Backup reached his last known location 22 minutes later. They found the patrol SUV abandoned near Black Pine Highway. Driver door open. Engine still running. But Torres was gone. The strangest part? The mud around the vehicle only contained one set of footprints. His footprints. Leading away from the road. Into the woods. And stopping suddenly. Like he'd vanished mid-step. After that night, nobody laughed about mile marker 18 anymore. But the calls kept coming. And 1 week later, I heard Emily's voice again. I knew it was her before she even said her name. That was the worst part. The call came in a little after 1 a.m. during another storm. Rain hammered the roof, so hard it sounded like gravel pouring from the sky. Half the county had already lost power, and dispatch was running on backup generators. The lights inside the room kept flickering. Nobody liked nights like that, especially after what happened to Deputy Torres. His desk at the sheriff's station was still untouched. Coffee mug still there. Family photo still sitting beside the monitor. Nobody wanted to move any of it. Like touching his things would somehow make it real. I was staring at the weather radar when the emergency line lit up again. No caller ID. My stomach dropped instantly. I answered anyway. 911, what's your emergency? Static filled my headset. Then came the sound I hated more than anything now. Clink, clink, clink. Metal tapping in the distance. Slow, patient. I felt cold all over. Then I heard breathing. Soft, shaky. And finally, I think I'm lost. My hands froze above the keyboard. Same voice. Same exhausted whisper. Emily. For a second, I couldn't speak at all. The room around me suddenly felt very far away. Emily? I whispered. Silence. Then, how do you know my name? Every hair on my arms stood up. I checked the date automatically. October 14th. Same date as her disappearance report from 1979. I actually felt dizzy for a second. Emily! Listen to me carefully. What year do you think it is? The line crackled hard. Then she laughed softly. Not happy laughter. Confused laughter. Why would you ask me that? Rain slammed against the building windows. Nobody else in dispatch was talking anymore. They were all watching me. I swallowed hard. What's the last thing you remember? I was driving home. From where? My sister's house. What city? Another pause. Then she answered with the name of a town that barely existed anymore. A mining town abandoned in the early 80s after the forest fires. My chest tightened. Emily, what year were you born? 1952. I closed my eyes for a second, because if that was true, she should have been over 70 years old. But her voice still sounded young. Exactly like the first night. Exactly the same. The line crackled again. He's here. Fear punched straight through my chest. Who's there? The man by the road. I forced myself to stay calm. Emily, stay inside the vehicle. I've been inside. What? I've been inside for a long time. Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. Not dramatic, not emotional, just tired, like someone waiting for years. Emily, can you describe where you are? There are trees. I know, but what else? Another pause. There are cars here now. My heart skipped. Cars, just like Torres described. How many cars? I can't count them anymore. Thunder shook the station windows. Then she whispered, "They keep arriving." A dispatcher across the room quietly stood up and walked out. I don't blame her. Even now, part of me wishes I'd walk away too. But I couldn't, because beneath Emily's fear, there was something else. Loneliness. Real loneliness. The kind you hear from elderly callers who know they're dying alone in their homes. The kind that stays with you. Emily. I said carefully, "How long have you been there?" This time she didn't answer right away. When she finally spoke, her voice sounded smaller somehow. "I don't know." "You don't know?" There's no daylight here anymore. A cold pressure settled into my stomach. I looked toward the tech operator. He was tracing the signal again. His face had gone pale. "What?" I mouthed. He slowly turned his monitor toward me. The signal wasn't bouncing around anymore. It was stationary, deep in the woods beyond Black Pine. But something else appeared on screen too. Additional signals. Dozens of them, all clustered together in the same patch of forest. Dead phones. Inactive emergency calls. Years old, some dating back decades. I stared at the screen in disbelief. What the hell? Emily interrupted softly. More people came tonight. I gripped the desk tighter. What people? They were driving. Are they okay? No. Thunder rolled again outside. Then I heard something through her phone. Footsteps. Slow footsteps moving between gravel and wet leaves. Not one set. Several. Emily's breathing became shaky. They walk around at night. Who does? The wet people. I felt sick hearing that phrase. Not ghosts. Not bodies. Wet people. Like that was all she knew them as. Emily, listen carefully to me. I'm going to send help. No. Her voice sharpened suddenly. First real emotion I'd heard from her. Do not send them here. The entire room stayed dead quiet. Why? Because the road changes. My throat tightened. What do you mean? It moves when someone looks away. I almost spoke, but stopped, because part of me believed her now. After Torres disappeared, after the recordings, after all those calls, part of me already knew something was terribly wrong in those woods. Emily suddenly whispered, "He sees you." Every muscle in my body locked up. What? The man. I forced a breath out slowly. Emily, he can't see me. Yes, he can. The tapping sound started again. Closer now. Clink, clink, clink. He stands beside you every night. I turned slowly toward the dark window, beside my desk, before I could stop myself. Rainwater slid down the glass. Nothing else. Still, my heart wouldn't slow down. Emily, I whispered, "What does he want?" The line filled with static for nearly 5 full seconds. Then, "He wants people to stop leaving." A deep chill moved through me. Somewhere in the station hallway. A printer suddenly started spitting paper by itself. One dispatcher cursed under her breath. Nobody moved to check it. Emily kept talking softly. He waits by the trees until drivers turn onto the road. Why? Because he's lonely too. Another burst of static swallowed part of her voice. Then I heard something else. An engine, very faint, approaching slowly. Emily heard it too. Oh no, what is it? Another car. The fear in her voice came rushing back all at once. They're stopping. I stood up again. Emily, who's stopping? The family. What family? They look lost. My chest tightened painfully. Another call. Another group being pulled onto that road. Emily, listen to me carefully. Can you warn them? Silence. Then very quietly. I tried before. The engine sound stopped outside her car. I could almost picture it. Dark woods, rain, headlights between trees. A confused family thinking they simply took a wrong turn. Then Emily whispered something that still wakes me up some nights. The little boy sees me. I stop breathing for a second. What? He's looking through the window. I heard movement outside her car now. Muffled voices. A child speaking faintly somewhere beyond the rain. Then Emily started crying. Not loud, not panicked, just broken. He thinks I'm alive. My throat burned suddenly, because for the first time, I realized she understood what she was. Or at least part of it. Emily, I told him not to stop. The tapping sound came again, much louder now, right beside her. Clink, clink, clink. The child outside screamed. A woman shouted something in the distance. Car door slammed. Then chaos exploded through the line. Running footsteps. People yelling. Static roaring violently. And underneath it all, that horrible wet breathing. Close. Too close. I shouted into the headset. Emily. For 1 second, everything became silent again. Then she whispered one final thing. He found another one. The call disconnected. Dead tone. Nobody in dispatch spoke after that. Not for a long time. Then the printer in the hallway finally stopped. One of the operators slowly walked over to check the pages. I watched her face lose all color. What is it? I asked. She didn't answer. She just handed me the paper. It was a missing persons bulletin automatically pulled from state records. A family of 3. Reported missing less than 20 minutes earlier during the storm. Last known location, Black Pine Highway, near the old forest access roads. And clipped beside the report was a blurry traffic camera image taken before the signal died. A sedan turning onto a gravel road that did not exist on any map anymore, near a rusted sign barely visible through the rain. The radio wasn't supposed to be working. That was the first thing he said. Not help or emergency or even I'm lost. Just that, a calm, confused voice breaking through static at 2:14 a.m. while rain hammered the station roof. So hard it felt like the building was trying to sink into the ground. I remember staring at the call screen. Unknown location. Again, my finger hesitated for half a second before I answered. 911, what's your emergency? For a moment, there was only wind. Not city wind. Not road wind. Forest wind. Deep, tight, moving through trees. Then his voice came through. Low, rough, like he hadn't spoken in a long time. My radio turned on by itself. I leaned forward slightly. That sentence didn't make sense in the usual way calls didn't make sense. But something about his tone made my stomach tighten anyway. Sir, what's your location? A pause. Then footsteps. Slow. Careful. Like he was trying not to be heard by the forest itself. I'm out hunting, he said. North Ridge. Past Black Pine access. My hands froze for a second above the keyboard. Black Pine again. That name had been haunting every shift lately. Okay, I said carefully. Are you injured? No. Another pause. Then he added something quieter. But I think someone else is here. That was the first open loop. Not who, not where, just someone. I could hear him breathing now, sharper, controlled but strained. Behind him, something metallic clicked. Once, then again. Clink, clink. I've heard that sound before. Too many times now. Sir, I said, lowering my voice. Is that your equipment? No, he whispered. And that's when I realized something strange. His breathing changed. Not faster, not scared. Focused, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. My walkie-talkie just turned on, he said. I frowned at the screen. You're not carrying a live radio? It's dead, he said. Battery's been dead for a week. Then a pause, so long I thought the line dropped. But it didn't, because I could still hear it. Breathing, and something else. A voice underneath his voice. Very faint, almost like a second channel bleeding through. Who's speaking on it? I asked. Another crack of static. Then he whispered. It sounded like me. My fingers went cold. I checked the system again. Still no GPS ping. Nothing. Just raw audio drifting from nowhere in the woods. Can you turn it off? I asked. I tried. His voice shifted slightly. Confusion turning into something sharper now. Every time I silence it, it turns back on when I stop looking at it. That line didn't sit right. Not technically, not logically, but I didn't correct him. Because I've learned something in this job. Logic doesn't matter when someone is already afraid. Only direction does. Okay, I said slowly, what exactly do you see around you? Wind again, branches cracking, then a distant animal sound. Not a normal animal. Too slow, too heavy. I see my truck, he said. I see the ridgeline. I see trees, a lot of trees. Anything else? A pause, longer this time. Then, there's a path behind me that I didn't walk in on. That was the first real shift. My posture straightened. Sir, are you sure? I didn't come from there, he repeated. His voice tightened slightly. But it's open now. I felt that sentence in my chest more than I heard it. Because trails don't open themselves. Not in any normal world. Stay where you are. I said quickly, do not move off your position. I'm not moving, he replied. Then a softer voice slipped into the call. Not his. Different tone. Closer to the microphone. You shouldn't answer it. I froze. Sir, I said sharply. Who just spoke? Silence. Then rustling, like he turned his head too fast. I didn't say anything, he whispered. My pulse jumped. Check your radio. I said, I am looking at it. What do you see? His breathing stopped for a second. Then, it's on the ground. I leaned closer to my monitor. Describe it. It's turned on, he said slowly, but the screen is cracked. Another pause, then something worse. I think it's playing your voice. My throat went dry. I hadn't said anything yet in that moment. Not that. Not there. A dispatcher behind me glanced over, sensing the shift in my posture. I held up a hand without looking. Sir, I said carefully, what exactly is it saying? He didn't answer right away. Then, it's telling me to walk. A cold silence filled the room around me. Even the rain outside felt quieter suddenly. Do not follow it, I said immediately. I'm not. But his voice didn't sound convinced. It sounded like someone arguing with themselves. The forest wind shifted through the call again, and I heard it too, faintly. A second voice buried under the static. Not mine, but close enough to make my skin crawl. Come closer. The hunter gasped. Did you hear that? He whispered. I didn't answer, because I did hear it, and that wasn't supposed to be possible. Sir, I said quickly, forcing control into my voice, how far are you from your truck? 10 meters, he said. Stay by it. I am. Then a pause. Something is sitting inside it. My stomach dropped. What? I can see movement through the windshield. Wind slammed through the forest audio like a wave. And then I heard footsteps. Not his. Too steady. Too slow. Circling. I didn't leave the radio on the seat, he said suddenly. I put it in the glove box. Then how is it on? I asked. He didn't answer, because at that exact moment, the walkie-talkie on his end crackled again, and a voice came through. Clearer now, almost calm. Why are you still standing outside? The hunter whispered. That's my voice. A long silence stretched between us. I checked the system again. Still no location fix. Still nothing. But now something new appeared on the screen. A second audio feed. Unknown source. Same call. Duplicated. Like the system itself was listening twice. "Sir," I said carefully, "is anyone else with you?" "No," he said quickly. Then quieter. "I think I used to be alone." That sentence made my chest tighten. Used to be. Not him anymore. Just used to. Something moved in the background of his call. Branches snapping. Closer now. Too close. "Sir," I said, "listen to me. Get inside your truck. Lock the doors." "I can't," he said. "Why not?" A pause. Then, "Because I already did." My hands stopped moving. I looked at the screen. Confused. "What do you mean you already did?" His voice changed slightly, like he was replaying memory instead of speaking it. "I got in. I turned the key. I started driving." Wind roared louder through the call, then suddenly stopped. Complete silence. No forest. No rain. Nothing. Then his voice came back again. Soft. Closer. "I'm still here." My mouth went dry. "Sir, where's your truck right now?" A long pause. Then, I don't think it ever stopped moving. That was the moment the dispatcher beside me finally stood up. She didn't say anything, just slowly walked away from her desk, like she didn't want to hear what came next, because something was changing in the audio. The background wasn't forest anymore. It was engine noise, but not running, idling, controlled, too steady, like something had taken over the vehicle itself. And then I heard it, a second hunter's voice, from inside the same call, confused, panicked, asking the same question I was. "Who is this on the radio?" The original hunter whispered, "There are two of me now." And the line went completely dead. No static, no disconnect tone, just silence. But the system didn't drop the call. It stayed open, still recording, still active, still alive in some way I didn't understand. I stared at the screen for a long time, waiting for it to close. It didn't. Instead, a new location ping appeared, for half a second only, deep inside Black Pine Ridge. Then it flickered and expanded. Not one signal, two, then four, then dozens, all layered in the same exact spot. And beneath them, one final audio fragment came through. Not the hunter, not the radio. Something else entirely. A calm voice, almost patient, still waiting by the trees. And then silence. But even after the call ended, the system didn't clear it. It just stayed open, like something was still waiting to be answered. The forest was too quiet for men who were trained to search for the missing. That was the first thing I noticed when I joined the search team that night. Not darkness, not the rain, the silence. It felt like the trees were holding their breath. We were 5 people total. 2 deputies, 1 ranger, and 2 volunteers. Headlamps cutting thin lines through wet branches as we moved deeper into Black Pine's northern ridge. Same area as the hunter's call. Same impossible signal cluster. Same mile marker 18 that kept appearing on every failed map trace. Nobody said the number out loud, but I knew they were thinking it. I was too. Every step felt heavier the deeper we went. Mud stuck to boots like it didn't want us leaving. One of the deputies, Torres' replacement, kept checking his radio every few minutes. Nothing but static. Always static. Visibility's dropping, the ranger muttered. He wasn't wrong. The fog wasn't normal. It moved sideways sometimes, like it was deciding where we were allowed to see. And then I heard it. Something soft. Behind us. A crack, like a branch stepping on itself. We all froze at the same time. "That's wildlife," one volunteer whispered. But nobody sounded convinced. The deputy raised his hand slowly. We waited. 10 seconds. 15. Nothing moved. Then we started walking again. That's when the second sound came. Footsteps. Not behind us anymore. Beside us. I turned my head quickly, sweeping my flashlight across the trees. Nothing. Just trunks. Wet bark. Dark shapes that almost looked like standing people if you stared too long. "Stay tight," the deputy said quietly. His voice was controlled, but I could hear the strain underneath it. We moved in formation now. Flashlights low, breathing shallow. Then the ranger stopped suddenly. "Did you hear that?" We all paused again. This time I listened harder. At first, nothing. Then it came. A radio sound. Not ours. Somewhere deeper in the woods. A burst of static, followed by a voice cutting in and out. "Copy, anyone, copy." The deputy frowned. "That's impossible," he whispered, "because no one had signal out here. We weren't supposed to." The ranger adjusted his backpack. "Could be another team?" "No other team is in this sector," the deputy said immediately. The radio crackled again. Closer this time. "They're circling us." My stomach tightened, because that wasn't our frequency, but it was still reaching us. The volunteer beside me shifted nervously. "Maybe it's an old recording?" The deputy shook his head. "It's live." We kept moving, but slower now, like every step had weight. And then I noticed something strange. The sound of movement in the trees wasn't random anymore. It was matching us. When we stopped, it stopped. When we moved, it moved. Not following, synchronizing, like something was learning our rhythm. I whispered it before I could stop myself. "We're being mirrored." The ranger looked at me sharply. "What did you say?" But before I could answer, the radio burst again, this time clearer. Too clear. "Don't let it follow your voice." The deputy stopped walking. His flashlight shook slightly. "Who is this?" he demanded into the radio. Only static answered. Then silence. The forest got heavier after that. Even the wind seemed to slow down. We reached a small clearing around what used to be an old campsite. Burnt logs, collapsed tent frame, ash swallowed by mud. This was one of the locations from the missing reports. The place where calls used to drop, where people stopped responding mid-sentence. The ranger stepped forward carefully. "Tracks here," he said. We all gathered, and I saw them. Footprints, multiple sets, but wrong. They didn't come in. They circled. Perfect circles around the campsite, like someone had been pacing for hours without leaving. The volunteer swallowed hard. "This doesn't make sense." Then we heard it. Movement again, but closer. All around us now. Not one direction. Every direction. The deputy raised his rifle slightly. "Stay together," he said. His voice was steady, but I saw his jaw tighten. That's when the radio came back again. Not static this time. Breathing. Very close breathing. Like someone holding the mic right next to their mouth. Then a whisper. Soft. Almost gentle. "You're in the wrong circle." The ranger stepped back immediately. "Shut that off," he snapped. But the deputy was already trying. Twisting knobs. Changing channels. Nothing worked. The voice kept coming through every frequency. Same sentence. "You're in the wrong circle." The forest around us shifted. I swear it did. Not physically, but visually. The trees looked closer. The space felt smaller, like the clearing was shrinking. The volunteer suddenly pointed behind us. "Look." We turned. Nothing was there, but the footprints we just studied, they were gone, completely erased. Fresh mud where they used to be, like they had never existed. My pulse spiked. The deputy radioed dispatch. "Base, we may have a situation. Something is interfering with comms in Sector 7. Static answered. Then a voice. Not dispatch. Not ours. But familiar. Too familiar. My stomach dropped before my brain caught up. It was the hunter. The same voice from the first call. "Calm. Tired. I told you not to follow it." The deputy went silent. "Who is this?" he finally said. No answer. Just breathing. Then the forest answered instead. All around us. Soft footsteps circling again. Faster this time. The ranger raised his flashlight higher. Something's moving between the trees. We all turned in different directions at once. Flashes of light cutting through fog. Nothing stayed still long enough to confirm, but the sound kept moving. Closer, closer, until it felt like it was just outside our circle of light. The deputy shouted into the radio again. "Identify yourself." A pause. Then the voice returned. But it changed. Not hunter anymore. Not dispatcher. Something else. Something older in tone. "You already found me once." I felt my blood go cold. The volunteer backed up slightly. "We need to leave," he said. No one argued. We turned quickly, started moving out of the clearing. But the moment we stepped out, we realized something was wrong. The path behind us was gone. Not blocked, not hidden, gone. Just trees, dense and unfamiliar. The ranger spun slowly. "This is where we came from." No one responded, because we all knew. We had just walked in a circle. The deputy whispered something under his breath. "Stay calm. We retrace." But even as he said it, I saw it in his eyes. He didn't know how. The radio crackled again. All channels at once now. Multiple voices layered over each other. "You're still walking. You're still here. You're still inside." The volunteer started breathing faster. "No, no, no, this isn't right." Then something worse happened. We heard footsteps inside the circle with us. Not outside. Inside. Everyone froze. Flashlights swung wildly. And then I saw it. A figure. Standing just beyond the edge of our light. Not moving. Just watching. The ranger raised his gun instantly. "Identify yourself." The figure didn't respond. But the radio did. And it said something that made my entire body lock up. In my own voice. Perfect imitation. "Stop shining the light on me." The ranger fired. One shot. The sound ripped through the forest. Echoed. Then silence. When the smoke cleared, nothing was there. No body. No movement. Just empty trees. The deputy turned to us slowly. "That wasn't a person," he said quietly. But none of us answered, because we all saw the same thing. The footprints were back, fresh, circling us again. But this time, there were more of them, and they weren't just outside the circle anymore. They were inside it too. It started with a recording that shouldn't have existed. I was alone in the dispatch room when it played back on my screen. No caller ID, no active line, just archived audio from the Black Pine sector feed. I didn't even open it at first. I stared at it for a long time, because after what happened in the forest search, nothing about that place felt safe anymore. But the timestamp made my stomach tighten. It was from that same night, the search operation, the moment everything went wrong. I hit play. At first, it sounded normal. Radio static, wind noise, faint footsteps. Then a deputy's voice broke through. "Base, we're inside Sector 7. Visibility low. No sign of..." Static cut him off mid-sentence. Then silence, but only for a second, because underneath that silence, I heard something else. Whispers, very faint, so low I almost thought it was interference. But it wasn't random. It had rhythm, like speech that hadn't fully formed yet. I leaned closer to the speaker without realizing it. Then the whisper sharpened, just slightly, enough to recognize words. "Don't turn around." I froze. That wasn't radio chatter. That was inside the recording, inside the moment. My pulse jumped. I checked the system logs. The feed was still active in playback mode, which meant it wasn't just recorded audio. It was being replayed in real time from something still open in the field. My throat went dry. I rewound it, listened again. Static, wind, deputy voice, then the whisper. But this time I noticed something I missed before. There wasn't just one whisper. There were layers, multiple voices stacked underneath each other, different tones, different distances, all saying the same thing. "Don't turn around." I pulled my headset off for a second, just to breathe. The room felt too quiet, too still. Even the humming machine sounded distant. Then the system pinged again. New file, same sector, same timestamp, but different label. Unidentified audio feed. I didn't click it immediately. I just stared, because something about it felt like waiting too long would make it worse. Eventually I opened it. This time there was no static at the start. No radio noise. Just breathing. Close. Too close. Like the mic was inside someone's jacket. Then a voice spoke. Not a dispatcher. Not a deputy. A caller. Male. Panicked. "I think I hear someone walking outside." My stomach tightened instantly, because callers don't get into dispatch recordings like that unless they are actively calling 911. But this file showed no incoming line. No phone signal. Nothing. Just audio. As if the forest itself was calling us. The man continued. I'm parked near the trees. My GPS says I'm on Black Pine Road, but... A pause. Then confusion. That road doesn't exist anymore. My hands slowly clenched under the desk, because that matched everything. Every report. Every missing trace. Every erase map line. Then something shifted in the audio. The caller went silent mid-sentence, but the recording didn't stop. It kept going, and I heard it, very faintly, behind him. Footsteps, slow, circling, not rushing, not approaching, just walking around his vehicle. I felt a cold pressure in my chest. Then the whisper returned, but this time it wasn't in the background. It was inside the same microphone as the caller, like something had leaned into his phone. Why are you still here? The caller gasped. What? Who is that? But there was no answer, only breathing. Not his. Something else. Deeper. He spoke again, voice shaking now. I didn't call anyone. I swear I didn't call anyone. That's when I realized something impossible. He wasn't calling us. We were hearing him after the fact. Or before. The timeline didn't match. The recording timestamp flickered on screen. It changed, just for a second, from 2:14 a.m. to 2:13 a.m., then back again. I leaned forward slowly. My mouth went dry. That shouldn't happen. Not in any system. The audio continued. The caller's voice grew quieter, like he was backing away from something. I'm not opening the door, he whispered. A pause. Then the whisper came again. Closer. You already did. My heart jumped hard at that line, because the caller suddenly shouted. No, I didn't. Silence followed. Heavy silence. Then a soft sound. Metal clicking. Like a car lock unlocking itself. I shot up from my chair, because I knew that sound. I had heard it before. In Emily's call. In Darren's call. In Torres' final transmission. Always right before everything changed. The recording kept going. Now the caller was breathing fast. Moving inside his vehicle. Doors opening. Closing. Confusion turning into panic. I'm leaving, he said quickly. I'm driving out. But then he stopped, mid-sentence, because something outside had changed. He went silent for a long time, only breathing. Then very softly he said, There are more of them now. My skin prickled. More of what? He whispered to himself. No answer, just movement outside the car, multiple directions, surrounding him completely. Then a new voice entered the recording. Not the whisper this time. A full voice. Calm. Too calm. You can't leave the circle. The caller started crying. I didn't make any circle. The voice replied immediately. You did when you stopped moving. I felt my throat tighten, because that didn't sound like threat. It sounded like explanation, like rules, like something describing how things worked here. The caller suddenly yelled. I never stopped moving. But the recording proved otherwise, because I heard it. The engine idle, then silence, then nothing. He had stopped, for just a moment, and that was enough. The whisper returned again, everywhere now. Not one voice, not two, dozens. You stopped. You're here. You're here now. I stepped back from the monitor without realizing it. My chair rolled slightly. The sound felt too loud in the quiet room. The recording continued. Now the caller was whispering too, but his voice had changed. Slower, detached, like he was repeating something he didn't understand anymore. I think I see the trees better now. My stomach dropped, because earlier he was inside his car. Now he sounded outside, or somewhere else entirely. The deputy's voice suddenly cut into the recording. Confused. Far away. Dispatch. We've lost visual on subject. I froze, because that wasn't in any timeline I had access to. That was now, or then, or both. The forest audio surged. Wind, movement, heavy silence. Then the caller spoke one last time. Very calm, almost peaceful. They said I should wait by the trees. My breath caught, because I knew that line. I had heard it before, in another call, from another voice. But this time the response came instantly from something right beside him. You always wait here. The recording ended. Just cut off. No fade. No static. Just silence. But the system didn't close it. Instead, the audio file kept looping in background memory, and something new appeared on the screen. A live connection. Active. No origin. No caller ID. Just Black Pine Sector. Open line. My hands hesitated above the keyboard. I didn't touch anything, but the mic activated itself anyway. And for the first time, I heard something on a line I didn't open. Soft footsteps. Circling. Very close. Then a whisper came through my headset, right beside my ear. Not from the speakers. Not from the system. From the line that shouldn't exist. Why are you still answering? The first thing I heard was my own breathing inside the headset. Not the system. Not dispatch audio. Just me, like something had learned the shape of my silence and copied it back. The Black Pine line was still open, still active, even after everything, even after I closed it. The screen showed no caller ID, no origin point, nothing I could trace. Just live transmission, unknown source. My finger hovered over the disconnect button, but I didn't press it because the voice came first. Low, broken, the hunter. Don't hang up. My stomach tightened instantly. That voice shouldn't have come back. That call ended. I heard it end. I remember it clearly. But here was again, as if the forest had replayed it and sent it back wrong. Sir, I said slowly, are you still inside the forest? A pause, long enough that I thought the line had frozen. Then a soft laugh, not normal laughter. Tired, empty. I don't think I ever left it. My chest went cold, because that wasn't fear in his voice anymore. It was acceptance, like someone who had stopped fighting a long time ago. A chair creaked behind me in dispatch. Someone else was listening now. Nobody spoke. The hunter continued. I tried to walk back, he said quietly, but the trees kept changing. My fingers tightened on the desk. Changing how? I asked. A long silence. Then they started facing me. I stopped breathing for a second because I knew what he meant. Trees don't face anything. They just stand. But the way he said it, it wasn't metaphor. It was observation. Like something impossible had become normal there. The audio shifted suddenly. Wind filled the line. Heavy, close. Then footsteps. Slow, circling. My stomach dropped because I recognize that sound now. Circling movement. Always circling. Never approaching directly. Do you see anything near you? I asked quickly. The hunter didn't answer right away. Then his voice came back softer. I see the edge of the forest. My eyes narrowed. What edge? The place where it stops being trees. A pause. Then, but it's closer now. My skin prickled. Closer how? It wasn't here before. Static cracked through the line. Then another sound entered. Not from the hunter. From somewhere deeper in the transmission. A second layer. A whisper. Barely audible. You already crossed it. I froze. Because that voice didn't belong to him. And it didn't belong to me. The hunter whispered back immediately. No, he said. I didn't. The whisper answered instantly. You did when you looked away. My heart hammered hard now. I leaned closer to the screen without realizing it. What do you mean looked away? I asked. The hunter's breathing changed. Faster now. Uneasy. I stopped watching the trees, he said. A pause. Just for a second. Silence stretched. Then something worse came through. A soft shift in audio. Like movement very close to the microphone. Then another voice. Calm. Directly beside him. You should always watch. The hunter gasped. I'm not alone, he whispered. I felt my throat tighten. Who is it? I asked. No answer. Just breathing. Heavy. Controlled. Like someone standing too close to him. Then the hunter spoke again. But his voice had changed. Smaller. Confused. I think I know where I am now. My stomach sank. Where? I asked quickly. A long pause. Then, between. The word hit the room harder than I expected. Behind me. Someone shifted in their chair. But nobody spoke. The hunter continued. There's no road anymore, he said softly. No truck. No gear. My pulse spiked. What do you see right now? I asked. Another pause. Then his voice cracked slightly. I see myself. Silence. For a moment, I thought the transmission broke again. But it didn't. It was still live. Still breathing. Still wrong. You see yourself where? I asked. The hunter whispered, standing outside. My body went cold. Outside what? My truck. I stood up slowly without realizing it, because that didn't make sense anymore. He was describing two positions at once, inside and outside. Same moment, same place. Then the whisper returned, louder this time. You always stand outside. The hunter shouted suddenly. No. The audio spiked. Wind, static, distortion. Then silence again. When it cleared, his voice was shaking. I didn't open the door, he said. I didn't move. I didn't. He stopped, mid-sentence, because something interrupted him. A sound, very soft, metal clicking. Clink, clink, clink. My heart dropped instantly. I knew that sound. I had heard it too many times now. The hunter whispered, It's inside with me now. My voice came out lower. Where exactly are you? He didn't answer right away. Then, I'm not sure which one is me anymore. My breath caught, because that wasn't fear anymore. That was splitting, something breaking apart inside him. The audio shifted again. Now, there were multiple layers of sound, not just forest, not just wind, but overlapping versions of him speaking, different tones, different timings, all saying slightly different things. I'm still here. I never left. I think I'm outside. I think I'm inside. My hand shook slightly above the keyboard. The system display flickered. For half a second, I saw something impossible. Another active line. Same transmission, but from a different timestamp. Older, but playing at the same time. I swallowed hard. Hunter, I said carefully. Can you describe the tree line? Silence. Then, it's not straight anymore. What do you mean? It moves when I breathe. A cold pressure filled my chest. Then something changed in the audio again. A new sound entered. Not whisper, not wind. Footsteps. Multiple. Approaching slowly. Then stopping. Then circling again. The hunter spoke faster now. They're watching me from the edge, he said. Who is? The ones that didn't leave. My throat went dry. Then he added something quieter. They're waiting for me to stop looking. I didn't understand at first. Then I remembered what he said earlier. Always watch the trees. My stomach tightened. Do not look away, I said quickly. I'm trying, he whispered. But his breathing changed again, like his eyes were moving, scanning, shifting. Then silence. Long silence. So long I thought it ended. But then, soft voice. Close. Too close. You looked away. The hunter gasped. I didn't. But the voice interrupted him again. You blinked. My skin went cold, because it didn't sound like threat. It sounded like rule enforcement, like something correcting a mistake. The hunter's voice broke slightly. I don't understand what you want, he said. The answer came instantly. You already joined the edge. A long pause. Then the hunter whispered something I almost missed. If I'm already here, my breath slowed. Then where am I now? The audio shifted violently. Static exploded. Wind roared through the headset. Then everything stopped. Dead silence. My screen flickered again. The live transmission was still active, but now there was a second label beneath it. Auto-repeated feed. Active loop detected. I frowned. What does that mean? I whispered. Behind me. Someone finally spoke. Quietly. It means it's not a call anymore. I turned slightly. Then what is it? The dispatcher didn't answer, because the speaker was still live. And the hunter's voice came back one final time. Calm now. Too calm. Almost distant. I see the road again, he said softly. My stomach dropped. Where is it? I asked. A pause. Then, it's behind the trees. Silence. Then one last shift in audio, like something turning around. And the whisper came back one final time. Not to him, not to me, but to both of us. You were never outside it. The line went dead, but the system didn't close. It stayed open, and on the screen, the forest sector map slowly updated itself. New lines forming where no roads existed before, all leading deeper into Black Pine, all marked the same way. 18. The first call wasn't even a call. It was just noise. Static, so thick it felt like it had weight. I remember staring at the screen at 2:11 a.m., watching a line light up with no number attached. No ID, no location, nothing. Just incoming emergency call. I should have ignored it. We get glitches sometimes in rural systems. Old towers, bad weather, broken routing. But something about this one felt different. It didn't ring like normal. It breathed. I answered anyway. 911, what's your emergency? For a few seconds, there was nothing. Then I heard it. Wind. Not city wind. Not open field wind. Forest wind. The kind that moves through tight spaces and never fully clears out. I sat up straighter without thinking. Hello, I said again. Then the static shifted. Not louder. Closer. Like something had moved nearer to the microphone. And beneath it, I heard footsteps. Slow. Wet. Dragging through dirt. My fingers froze above the keyboard. This wasn't a prank. Pranks don't sound like this. Sir or ma'am, I said carefully, if you can hear me, say something. A pause, then something faint. Not words. Breathing. Very close to the mic. Like whoever was calling had leaned in too far. Then the wind came back again. Stronger this time. And something tapped in the background. Metal. Clink. Just once. I frowned slightly. That sound again. I had heard it before in other calls, but I couldn't place it yet. Can you tell me a location? I asked. No answer. Just static shifting like it was alive. Then I noticed something strange. The audio wasn't random. It had rhythm. Wind, pause, footsteps, pause, tapping. Like a loop repeating itself in real time. I leaned closer to the screen. Hello, I said again. And then a voice broke through. Barely audible. Male. Calm. I think I'm still driving. My chest tightened slightly. Sir, are you in a vehicle? No response for a second. Then, I don't remember stopping. I felt my throat go dry. Because that wasn't confusion. That was something worse. Disconnection. Like someone describing a memory they couldn't anchor. Can you see any road signs? I asked. A long pause. Then, there are no roads. I stopped typing. What do you mean there are no roads? Static surged suddenly. Louder. Like the forest itself was pushing back against the question. Then the voice came again. Closer. I mean, there are trees where roads used to be. A cold feeling crept into my chest. I checked the system logs. Still no location ping. No tower connection. Nothing. Just raw audio. Like the call wasn't coming through a phone at all. It was coming through space itself. Sir, I said slowly, are you injured? No. Another pause. Then softer. But I think something is following me. My fingers tightened slightly. Is there someone behind your vehicle? Silence. Then the sound of movement. Slow. Circling. Not rushing. Not chasing. Just walking around something. Then the man whispered. It doesn't walk like a person. My stomach dropped. Describe it, I said. A long pause. Then his voice cracked slightly. I only see it when I don't look directly at it. I leaned back a little. That sentence didn't make sense. But the fear in his voice made it real anyway. The static shifted again. And suddenly the background changed. No more wind. No more footsteps. Just silence. Heavy silence. Then a soft sound returned. Clink. Metal tapping again. But closer now. Right beside the microphone. The man suddenly inhaled sharply. Don't answer it, he whispered. Answer what? I asked quickly. No response. Just breathing getting faster. Then a second voice entered the call. Not the man. Not me. Something else entirely. Calm. Almost patient. You already answered. I felt my skin go cold. Sir, I said sharply, who is that? But the line didn't respond to me anymore. The man spoke instead, voice trembling now. I didn't say anything. The second voice returned immediately. Yes, you did. A long silence followed. And in that silence, I heard something I'll never forget. Footsteps inside the call. Not outside. Inside. Moving around the microphone. Circling. The man whispered, "It's in the car with me." My heart jumped. "Sir, lock your doors immediately." "They're already locked." "Then get out." "I can't," he interrupted suddenly. "Why not?" Another pause. Then, "Because I'm not the one driving anymore." Static exploded through the line. Sharp, violent, like the signal itself was tearing. Then the voice came again. But it was different now. Smoother, more controlled. "You don't need roads where you're going." My hand slowly moved toward the disconnect button. But something stopped me. Not fear. Curiosity. That terrible need to understand what I was hearing. "Who are you?" I asked. A pause. Then the answer. "We are what stays when you stop moving." The room behind me felt colder suddenly. I turned slightly. The other dispatcher wasn't looking at her screen anymore. She was staring at mine, her face pale. "Are you hearing that?" she whispered. I didn't answer, because the call changed again. Now the wind returned, but different, not natural, like something breathing through a hollow space. Then the man spoke again, but his voice was weaker, fading. "I see lights now." "What kind of lights?" I asked quickly. "Red and blue," he said. Relief hit me for half a second. "Good," I said. "That means help is nearby." But he didn't respond like that made sense. Instead, he whispered, "They're not facing me." My stomach tightened again. "Then who are they facing?" I asked. A long pause. Then, "The forest." Silence. Heavy silence. Then the tapping returned. Clink, 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 closer than before, almost directly inside the mic. The man suddenly gasped. "I think I see the road again." My pulse jumped. "Where?" I asked. "Behind me," he said, then softer. "But I don't remember turning around." Static surged again. The system flickered, just for a second, and I saw something impossible on the screen. The call timestamp shifted. 2:11 a.m., then 2:10 a.m., then back again. Like time itself was uncertain. My breathing slowed without me realizing. "Sir," I said carefully, "can you confirm your location again?" No response. Just movement. Slow. Approaching. Then the man whispered one final thing. And it didn't sound like fear anymore. It sounded like acceptance. "I think I've been here before." The line went silent, but the system didn't drop it. It stayed open, still connected, still alive. And in the background, I heard the forest again, waiting, breathing, and just before the feed stabilized into static, a final whisper slipped through, very close, almost inside the room. Static never starts the call. And then the screen flickered, still active, still connected. But no one was speaking anymore. The first thing we found was a chair, still swinging, slow, like someone had just stood up, but forgot to stop the motion. The fire lookout tower was supposed to be empty, but the radio was still on, crackling softly, like it was waiting for someone to answer. I remember standing at the base of Tower 14, staring up into the dark metal frame cutting into the night sky. The forest around it was too still. No wind, no insects, nothing alive sounding alive. Just that faint radio hiss drifting down from above. "Dispatch," the ranger whispered beside me. He was up there alone. I didn't answer right away, because I was looking at something else. The ladder, wet, fresh footprints on the metal rungs. Going up, but not coming down. My stomach tightened. Did anyone go up after him? I asked. The ranger shook his head slowly. No backup was sent. He was just supposed to report fire movement and stay put. I looked up again. The tower felt wrong now. Not abandoned. Paused. Like someone had stopped it mid-action. Then the radio crackled. Suddenly louder. A voice broke through. Mail, com, dispatch. I see them again. My body went cold, because that voice shouldn't have been live. We were hearing a missing man, from a closed tower, from an empty platform. Tower 14, I said quickly into my mic. Identify yourself. Static answered first, then the same voice returned. Closer this time. There between the trees again. The ranger stepped forward. That's him, he whispered. That's Ethan. My chest tightened. Ethan, I said carefully. This is dispatch. Are you inside the tower? A pause. Long. Then, I don't know where the tower is anymore. I felt a strange pressure behind my eyes. What do you mean you don't know? I asked. Another pause. Then his voice dropped lower. I think it moved. The ranger looked at me sharply. That doesn't make sense, he said. But none of this did anymore. The radio hissed again. And this time, another sound slipped through underneath. Footsteps. Inside metal. Not outside. Inside the structure. Slow. Climbing. My hand tightened around the radio. Ethan, I said, are you alone up there? Silence. Then a whisper. That one word made the forest feel closer, like it leaned in to listen. Then Ethan spoke again, but faster now. I saw lights below the tree line. Red ones, blue ones, moving without cars. The ranger frowned. That could be emergency teams, he said, but I knew before he finished speaking. No one else was deployed. Not yet. Ethan, I said, describe the lights. A long pause. Then, they don't stay in one shape. My throat tightened. What does that mean? They fold when I look at them directly. The ranger muttered under his breath. That's not possible. But the radio didn't care. It kept going. Now Ethan's voice sounded further away, like he was moving, or something was moving him. I think they're circling the tower, he said. My eyes lifted slowly toward the structure. The metal frame creaked slightly, but there was no wind, no reason for it to move. Then the radio added something new. A second voice, not Ethan, low, almost patient. Don't look down. Ethan went silent immediately. I froze. Did you hear that? I asked. The ranger nodded slowly. That wasn't him. The radio crackled again. Ethan's voice came back, but weaker. I didn't say anything, he whispered. Then another pause. Longer this time. Like he was listening to something we couldn't hear. Then, it's at the base of the tower. My skin went cold. The ranger lifted his flashlight slowly. We both turned. The base of the tower looked normal at first. Empty dirt, wet ground, broken branches. Then I saw it. Footprints. Fresh. Walking in a circle around the tower. Perfect loop. Like someone had been pacing. But they weren't random. They were tight, controlled, measured. The ranger whispered. Those weren't there before. The radio hissed louder. And then Ethan's voice changed. Not fear, confusion. I think I'm walking now, he said. I frowned. What do you mean you're walking? Silence. Then, I'm on the ground. My stomach dropped. No. I said quickly, you're in the tower. A pause. Then his voice returned. I thought I was. The radio shifted suddenly. The sound of metal footsteps filled the line. Clang, clang, clang. Slow. Descending. My eyes snapped up the tower ladder. The ranger did the same. But nothing was there. No movement. No shadow. Still, the sound continued through the radio, like someone was climbing down inside the transmission itself. Then Ethan whispered something that made my chest tighten completely. I don't remember going up. The ranger stepped closer to me. That means he's not in control of where he is anymore. I didn't answer, because the radio changed again. Now there was wind, but only inside the call, not around us. Inside it, and underneath the wind, voices. Multiple, layered, not speaking words yet, just forming them, like something learning how to talk. Then Ethan spoke again, but this time he sounded distant, like he was far away from the mic. I see the forest from above now. I swallowed hard. That's good, I said carefully. Stay where you are. Don't move. A pause. Then, I'm not above it anymore. My pulse quickened. What do you mean? I'm inside it. The ranger grabbed my arm slightly. This is getting worse, he whispered. I nodded slowly, but I kept the line open because I needed answers, even if I didn't want them. Ethan, I said, what do you see right now? Silence. Then a very slow response. I see another tower. My stomach tightened. That's impossible, I said. There are no other active towers in that sector. But Ethan continued. It's standing between the trees. A pause. Then, and someone is still up there. My breath caught. Describe them. I said quickly. No answer for a moment. Then Ethan whispered. It looks like me. The ranger stepped back slightly. That's not him anymore, he said under his breath. But the radio kept going. Now the wind grew stronger. Inside the call only. And beneath it a new sound. A chair creaking. Slow. Swinging. Like something had just stood up again. Ethan's voice came back, but weaker now. I think I understand where I am, he said. My throat tightened. Where? I asked. A long pause. Then, between the towers. Silence. Heavy. Then the radio hissed sharply, and the second voice returned. Closer than before. You never stayed in one place. The ranger looked at me, eyes wide now. That's not a person, he said. I didn't respond, because I was watching the tower, and I realized something wrong. The ladder footprints were gone, completely erased, like no one had ever climbed it. Then the radio gave one final burst. Ethan's voice broken and fading. If I come down, will I still be me? I opened my mouth to answer, but the second voice spoke first. Calm, certain, you never came down. The radio cut to static, but the line stayed open, and for a moment, I swear I heard footsteps circling the tower again, even though nothing was moving outside. The emergency line was still open. That was the first mistake. I should have closed it hours ago, but I didn't, because after the tower incident, every disconnected call felt like it was waiting for me to pick it up again. The screen showed Black Pine Sector, live line, no caller ID, no active tower link, just a channel that refused to die. I sat in the dispatch room alone now. Everyone else had gone out for field checks. Only the hum of machines stayed with me. And that line, breathing, not mine, not static, something else. Then I heard it clearly. Footsteps inside the audio feed. Slow, metal, careful. I leaned forward. My throat tightened. Hello, I said quietly. No response. Just breathing now. Very close. Like someone standing right next to a mic. Then a faint echo came through. A room, not forest, not open space. A room. I froze because I recognized the sound instantly. The observation room of Tower 14. That empty control space where Ethan was last heard. But it wasn't supposed to have power anymore. Tower 14, I said slowly. If anyone is there, identify yourself. A pause, then a whisper. Not Ethan's voice. Too calm, too close. You're still listening. My stomach tightened. Who is this? I asked. No answer. Just movement. Soft. Behind a microphone. Like someone circling it. Then another sound came through. A chair, slowly scraping. My pulse jumped. Because that chair should not be moving. Not anymore. Ethan? I called out. Silence. Then the breathing shifted. Different now. Not panicked. Controlled. Like someone trying to match a rhythm. Then the voice returned. We're not alone in here. I stood up without thinking. My chair rolled back slightly. What do you see? I asked quickly. A long pause. Then, the window. I frowned. What about it? It's not showing the forest anymore. My skin prickled. Then what is it showing? Silence. Then softly. Another room. My throat went dry. That's impossible, I said. But even as I said it, I felt something wrong in my chest. Because I remembered what the ranger said. The tower looked different when you weren't looking directly at it. Like it changed when attention shifted. The audio shifted suddenly. Wind returned, but inside the room only, not outside. Inside the call, then footsteps again. Faster this time. Circling, circling, then stopping. A soft metallic click followed, like a door latch. I leaned closer. Is someone trying to get in? I asked. No answer, just breathing again. But now it wasn't calm. It was uneven, like whoever was inside was trying not to react. Then the whisper came back, closer than before. They're watching the door from both sides. My stomach tightened. Which door? I asked. A pause. Then, all of them. My hands went cold, because observation rooms only had one entrance. But the way he said it, it didn't sound like physical doors. It sounded like boundaries. The line crackled suddenly, and for a second, I heard something else underneath. Another voice, far away, calling through layers of static. Dispatch channels, overlapping frequencies, all bleeding into each other. Then the main voice returned. I think I remember this place, it said softly. My breath slowed. Who are you? I asked again. A long pause. Then, I used a report from here. I froze. That's not possible, I said quickly. Ethan was the only lookout assigned. Silence. Then the voice corrected me. I wasn't Ethan. A chill ran through me. Then who are you? I asked. Another pause. Then I was before him. My mind struggled to process that. Before him. Before Ethan. Before the call ever started. That made no sense. None of this did. Then something shifted in the audio. A soft metallic sound again. But now it was rhythmic, like typing. Slow, irregular, almost human. What are you doing? I asked. No answer. Then suddenly the voice said, I'm trying to log out. My stomach dropped. What do you mean log out? But instead of answering, the sound changed. The chair again, scraping, dragging across the floor, then stopping, followed by silence, so deep it felt like pressure. Then a new sound entered. A second breath, very close, right next to the microphone. Not the same voice, not the same presence. Something else had joined the line, and it spoke directly. You can't leave observation. The first voice responded immediately. I already did once. A pause. Then the second voice replied. You never stopped looking. My hands trembled slightly. I stepped back from the console because I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a call. It was a loop, a conversation repeating itself across time. The first voice whispered. The tower changed when I blinked. The second voice answered. It always does. My breathing grew shallow. What is happening there? I said out loud. Neither of them answered me, because I wasn't part of it. I was just hearing through it. Then the room and the audio shifted again. Now I heard rain, but only inside the call. Heavy, close, hitting metal surfaces. Then footsteps move again. Slow, approaching the microphone. Stopping. Then a voice said softly, The window is open now. I frowned. What window? I asked again. No answer. Then the sound of wind entered, but wrong. Inside the room, moving through something enclosed, like a space that shouldn't have wind at all. Then I heard something worse. A reflection of my own voice. Very faint. From inside the call. Do you see it too? I froze completely, because I didn't say that. But I recognized the tone. It was me, or something that had learned me. The dispatcher behind me suddenly spoke. Are you still on that line? I didn't answer, because the voice in the call replied instead. Yes. My heart slammed hard. The dispatcher stepped closer. What is that? She asked. I shook my head slightly. I don't know. I whispered, but I did know. I just didn't want to say it. The observation room wasn't just being heard. It was being accessed. Then the voice inside the call spoke again. Calm now. Too calm. I can see the desk again. My blood ran cold. Which desk? I asked. A pause. Then, the one I used to sit at. My chest tightened. Then the second voice returned. You still sit there. Silence. Then the first voice answered softly. No. A pause. Then, I'm standing behind it now. My body went rigid. I turned slightly without thinking, half expecting something behind me, but the room was empty, only the hum of machines, and the open line, still active, still listening. Then the voice inside the call whispered one final thing, and it didn't sound like fear anymore. It sounded like understanding. The observation room was never in the tower. My breath caught. Then where is it? I asked. A long pause. Then, it's where you listen from. The line went silent, but the screen did not disconnect. Instead, a new feed appeared. Live. Same tower. Same room. But now, the chair in my dispatch room creaked slightly behind me, even though I hadn't moved. The first report came in before sunrise. A volunteer team radioed dispatch from Tower 14's perimeter. Their voices were shaking, not from cold, from something else. "I don't think we should stay here," one of them said. I remember gripping the edge of my desk as I listened. "Report your observation," I replied. A long pause. Then, "There's someone outside the glass." My stomach tightened immediately. "Describe them," I said. Another pause. Then a voice, lower now, careful like it didn't want to be heard. "It's not moving." That was the first detail that made my skin go cold, because motionlessness in the forest meant nothing natural. Nothing alive stayed still like that for long. "Where exactly?" I asked. A crackle in the radio. Then, "Tower side, west window." I turned slightly toward the monitor, showing Tower 14's live feed, but the camera was glitching again. Same static pattern, same slow distortion that never fully cleared. The volunteer continued. "We thought it was a reflection at first. A breath, then, but it's not inside the tower." My throat tightened. "What makes you sure?" I asked. Silence. Then, "Because it doesn't blink." That sentence stayed in the room longer than the silence after it. I leaned forward. "Keep visual distance," I said. "Do not approach the structure." The radio hissed. Then another voice came in from the team. "I've been watching it for 20 minutes. My eyes narrowed. "From where?" A pause. Then, "From the tree line." The implication hit too late. I turned to the map feed. Multiple volunteer positions marked around Tower 14. All stationary. All pointed inward, at the tower, not moving, watching. The first volunteer spoke again. "It's still there." His voice sounded thinner now, tired in a way that didn't match time. "What does it look like?" I asked. A long pause. Then, "I think it's wearing a uniform." My stomach dropped slightly. "What kind of uniform?" No answer for a moment. Then, "Dispatch." I froze. The room behind me felt smaller, instantly. The second dispatcher leaned closer to my screen. "What did he say?" she whispered. I didn't answer, because the radio kept going. The volunteer continued, voice shaking now. "It looks like someone from your station." I felt a cold pressure behind my eyes. "That's not possible," I said quickly. "No personnel were sent up." A pause. Then, "It's standing exactly like you would." My breath slowed. "What do you mean exactly like me?" I asked. Static surged. Then the voice softened. Same posture. A beat. Same headset. My hand slowly went still on the desk. Behind me, I felt the other dispatcher stop moving too. The volunteer added quietly. "It even tilts its head when we speak." Silence followed. Heavy, thick. Then I made a decision I didn't want to make. "Turn your cameras toward it," I said. A pause. Then hesitation. "Are you sure?" one of them asked. "Yes," I said. A long moment passed. Then the camera feed finally adjusted. But what I saw made my stomach drop completely. Tower 14 stood there in the frame. Old metal, rust, empty windows. But outside it, there was something standing perfectly still. Human-shaped, uniform-shaped, facing the glass. Not moving, not reacting, just waiting. The volunteer's voice came back, lower now. "It hasn't turned once." I stared at the feed. "Can you confirm it's real?" I asked. A pause. Then, "We've been looking at it since midnight." My chest tightened. "Has it moved at all?" I asked. No answer for a second. Then, no. A longer pause. Then softer. But the weird part is, I lean closer. It looks like it's been waiting longer than we have. A cold wave passed through me. Because that didn't sound like observation. It sounded like recognition. The second dispatcher whispered behind me, "This is just a person in the woods, right?" I didn't answer, because the volunteer spoke again, and his voice had changed. Less fear now, more confusion. "I think it's trying to copy us." My brow tightened. "What makes you say that?" I asked. A pause. Then, because when we stopped moving, another breath. It stops too. Silence filled the channel. Then I heard something else. A faint sound layered under the transmission. Not wind, not radio. Breathing. Slow. Controlled. Like something right next to the microphone again. The volunteer suddenly spoke faster. "It's still there," he said, "but it's closer to the window now." My pulse spiked. "Did it move?" I asked quickly. "No," he replied. A pause. Then, "We did." The meaning of that hit late. My stomach tightened instantly. "What are you saying?" I asked. The volunteer didn't answer, but the radio picked up something else. Footsteps. Inside the tower feed. Not outside anymore. Inside. Metal echoing softly. Then the second volunteer spoke for the first time in a while. "I think we're inside the perimeter now." My hands went cold. "You're not authorized to enter the tower," I said sharply, but he replied immediately. We didn't move. Silence. Then it moved around us. I stood up slowly. The chair behind me creaked slightly, but I didn't turn. Not yet, because the feed shifted again. Now the camera view showed something new. The figure outside the window. Still there, but slightly angled now, like it was looking through the glass instead of at it. The volunteer whispered, "It's facing us now." My throat tightened. "Do not make eye contact," I said quickly, but the second dispatcher spoke suddenly. "Is it actually looking at them?" I hesitated, because the answer didn't feel simple anymore. The volunteer answered before I could. "I think it's waiting for us to blink." A cold silence spread through the room. Then the radio crackled again, and a new voice entered. Not volunteer, not dispatcher. Calm, familiar, too familiar. "You're finally watching." My blood went cold instantly. I leaned forward. "Identify yourself," I said sharply. No answer, just breathing, slow, measured. Then the volunteer whispered. It just turned its head. My heart slammed hard. "Toward what?" I asked. A long pause. Then, toward the camera. The feed flickered violently. Static washed over the screen. And for half a second, I saw it clearly. Standing outside the glass. Wearing the same uniform as dispatch. Same headset. Same posture. And it was looking directly into the camera. Into me. Then the image froze. The radio went silent, but the line stayed open. And in that silence, I heard my own voice through the feed. Soft. Close. Behind me. "Are you still watching it?" I didn't turn, because I already knew what I would see if I did. And the worst part was the window in my dispatch room suddenly felt too bright, like something outside was standing perfectly still, waiting for me to look back. It was supposed to be there, Tower 14. We all saw it on the maps. We all tracked it. But when the search crew reached the clearing, there was nothing, no tower, no metal frame, no broken stairs, just empty ground, like it had never existed at all. The radio in my hand stayed silent for a few seconds. Then one of the search crew finally spoke. "I don't understand, it was right here." His voice sounded lost. Not scared yet, just confused. That kind of confusion that comes right before fear arrives. I leaned closer to the console. "Confirm location," I said quickly. A pause. Then, "We are at the coordinates you gave us." Another voice cut in. Same altitude, same grid. "But there's nothing here." My throat tightened. "That's impossible," I said. But even as I said it, I looked at the live map. The marker for Tower 14 was still there, blinking, stable, like nothing had changed. Like reality outside didn't matter. Check visual perimeter. I ordered. Static came through. Wind noise. Breathing. Then footsteps crunching through dry ground. Slow movement through grass. Then silence again. One of them whispered, "There's only forest here." I stood up without realizing it, because that wasn't how it was supposed to be. I had watched that tower for hours. I had listened to voices inside it. I had heard footsteps, breathing, a man outside the glass. It couldn't just disappear. "Check structural remnants," I said sharply. A pause. Then the lead responder answered. "No debris, no foundation, not even marks in the soil." My stomach dropped slightly. "What about equipment?" I asked. Another pause. Then, "Nothing, just trees." The word hit too clean, too final. I looked at the dispatcher beside me. Her face had gone pale. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered. But the radio wasn't done. The search crew suddenly went quiet. All channels. No movement, no breathing, just silence. Then one voice came back. Very soft, almost uncertain. "Did it move again?" My grip tightened. "What moved?" I asked quickly. A long pause. Then, "The ground." My skin prickled. "What are you talking about?" I said. Static surged through the line. Then another voice joined in. Higher pitch now. Panicked. "We marked the position. We left flags. They're gone." My pulse jumped. "Describe your surroundings." I ordered. The lead responder answered slowly. "I see trees where there shouldn't be trees." Another pause. Then, "And I don't remember walking this far." Silence fell again, heavier this time, like the forest itself was listening. Then I heard something in the background. Not radio noise, not wind, a dragging sound, slow, through leaves. One of them whispered, "Did you hear that?" No answer came. Then another voice spoke, but it wasn't part of the crew. It came through the same channel. Calm, familiar, too familiar. "You found it." My blood went cold instantly. I leaned forward. "Identify yourself," I said sharply. No answer, just that same calm breathing again. Slow, measuring. Then the search crew reacted. "Who is that?" one of them asked. Silence. Then the unknown voice answered them directly. "You're closer than you think." My chest tightened. "Do not engage unknown transmission," I said immediately, but the lead responder interrupted me. "Sir, there's something between the trees." I froze. "Describe it," I said. A long pause. Then, "It looks like the tower." My heart stopped for a fraction. "What do you mean it looks like the tower?" I asked quickly. Static cracked. Then the responder continued, but smaller, like it's remembering itself. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "Back away," I said immediately. "Move to extraction point." But the radio didn't respond the way I expected. Instead, another voice came through. The same calm one. "You already walked past the exit." The lead responder shouted suddenly. "No, we didn't." Then silence again. Then footsteps. Fast. Confused. Running through forest. Then stopping. Breathing hard. "I don't see the flags anymore," one of them said. My hand started to shake slightly, because I realized something. They weren't losing the tower. They were losing reference, like the forest itself was rewriting direction. Then the unknown voice returned again. Closer now. "You kept looking at it too long." My throat tightened. "What do you want?" I said quietly. No answer. Just that soft breathing again. Then the search crew suddenly went quiet. Completely silent. No movement. No panic. Just stillness. Then one voice whispered, "It's back." I leaned in. "What is back?" I asked. No answer. Then, "The tower." My breath caught. "Where?" I asked. A pause. Then the responder said, "Behind us." My stomach dropped instantly. "Do not turn around," I shouted, but it was too late. A second later, I heard it. Shock. Confusion. Then one of them whispered, "It's not the same." My pulse spiked. "What do you see?" I asked. No answer at first. Then, "It's watching us from inside." Static surged violently. The dispatcher beside me covered her mouth. I stared at the screen. The map marker for Tower 14 flickered. Once, twice, then changed position. Slightly, not much, just enough to notice, just enough to make it feel wrong. Then the unknown voice returned again, soft, almost like it was standing behind the radio itself. You were never tracking the tower. My breath slowed. Then what were we tracking? I whispered. A pause. Then, where was looking? The line went dead silent, but the forest feed stayed open, and in the final second before the screen froze, I saw it, not the tower, not the forest, something in between, a shape forming itself out of distance, watching the people who were supposed to be watching it. And then, very quietly, the map marker on my screen shifted again, closer this time, not toward the forest, toward us. The call came in at 2:07 a.m., but I didn't hear panic first. I heard silence, then a soft breathing, like a child holding the phone too close. I leaned in slowly. 911, what's your emergency? A long pause, then a small voice. My parents went into the woods. I frowned slightly. Okay, are you alone right now? Another pause. Then, yes, but something felt off. Not fear, not crying, just distance, like the voice wasn't fully inside the moment. What's your name? I asked gently. A delay. Then, I don't remember my name right now. My hand froze slightly over the keyboard. That answer wasn't normal. Not for a child. Not for anyone. Okay, I said slowly. Can you tell me where you are? A soft shuffle came through the line, like the phone being moved. Then, I'm in the house. I glanced at the map system. No registered distress location yet. No GPS lock. Is anyone else with you? I asked. A pause. Then, no, but I think they're still here. That line made my stomach tighten. Who is still there? I asked carefully. Silence stretched longer this time. Then the boy whispered. The woods didn't finish them. I stopped typing completely. That wasn't a normal sentence. Not from a child. Not from anyone calling for help. Listen to me. I said more firmly now. I need you to stay on the line. Don't hang up, okay? A soft sound came through, like him nodding, but he didn't speak. Just breathing. Slow. Too calm for a child alone at night. Then I heard something in the background. A creak, like a floorboard shifting. Is someone in the house with you? I asked quickly. The boy didn't answer right away. Instead, he said something else. They came back wrong. My chest tightened. Who came back? I asked. A pause. Then my parents. My fingers went cold. I checked the caller trace again. Still unstable. No clear location. Just fragments of signal. Are your parents home right now? I asked. A long silence followed. Then the boy whispered. They're standing outside the window. I leaned forward immediately. Do not go near the window, I said quickly. Do you understand me? No answer. Just breathing again, but now it sounded closer. Like he was holding the phone lower. Then a faint sound entered the line. Wind, but not outside wind. Inside wind, moving through a room. That's not possible, I muttered under my breath. The dispatcher beside me looked over. What is it? She asked. I didn't answer, because the boy spoke again. They're not knocking anymore. My throat tightened. What are they doing? I asked. A pause. Then, they're just waiting for me to look. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Don't look, I said immediately. Stay away from the windows. Another pause. Then the boy asked something that made my skin crawl. What if they already know I'm looking at them? I didn't answer right away, because I realized something was wrong with the rhythm of his speech. It wasn't just fear. It was observation, like he was describing something he had studied. Are you safe inside the house? I asked again. A soft creak came through the line. Then, I think the house is outside now. My hand stopped completely. What does that mean? I asked. No answer. Just silence. Then footsteps. Slow. Light. Inside the call. Not loud enough to be adults, but not small enough to be a child either. Something in between. The boy whispered again. I locked the door, but it didn't matter. My pulse rose. Listen carefully. I said, I need you to tell me exactly where you are in the house. A pause. Then, I'm in my room. Good. I said, stay there. Don't move. Another silence. Then, my room moved first. My stomach dropped slightly. What do you mean? I asked quickly. The boy's voice lowered, like he was afraid of being overheard, but I stayed still. I felt a strange pressure behind my eyes, like the conversation was folding in on itself. Are you saying the house is moving? I asked. A long pause. Then, no, a breath. Just the parts that want me to look. I didn't understand it, but I felt it. That deep wrongness that doesn't need explanation. Then suddenly, the background sound changed. A window latch. Slow. Metallic. Opening. Did you hear that? I asked sharply. No answer. Then the boy whispered. They're closer now. My hand moved instinctively toward the emergency dispatch alert. Do not open any doors or windows. I said firmly, stay on the line with me. A pause. Then, I think they already opened them. My breathing slowed. Who? I asked, but the boy didn't answer. Instead, the line filled with a new sound. Not wind this time. Not footsteps. Breathing. Right next to the microphone. Too close. And then a second voice entered. Not the boy. Older. Slow. Familiar in a way I couldn't place. He answered the call. My blood went cold. Who is this? I demanded. No response. Just that same breathing. Then the boy finally spoke again, but his voice had changed slightly. Not scared anymore. Just quiet. They're using my phone now. My chair creaked as I leaned back slightly. What did you say? I asked. A pause. Then, they said I did a good job calling you. My chest tightened hard. Listen to me. I said firmly. Get out of the house. Go outside right now. Silence. Then the boy said something that didn't make sense. I already did. I froze. What do you mean? I asked. A long pause. Then, I'm still here. The dispatcher beside me whispered. This doesn't sound like a child anymore. I didn't answer, because I realized the line had changed. The background wasn't a house anymore. It was something larger. Open. Empty. Wind moving through space too wide to be indoors. Then the boy spoke again, very softly. They're standing where I stood. My throat tightened. Where are you now? I asked. A pause. Then, I think I'm in the woods with them. My pulse spiked. No, I said quickly. Stay where you are. Do not move. But the voice on the line answered differently now. Calm, almost curious. I didn't walk there. A pause. They brought the house with me. The radio line crackled violently for a second, then went quiet, completely silent. But the call didn't disconnect. It stayed open, breathing still present. And in the silence, I heard something I will never forget. A soft, childlike whisper, right next to the mic, not from the forest, not from the house, from inside the dispatch room itself. Can you find me again if I go missing here too? The moment he said it, the line changed. Not the sound, the feeling, like the air itself leaned closer to listen. Don't let them hear you, the boy whispered again. I froze. Who? I asked, keeping my voice low. A pause. Then he answered, the ones outside. I glanced at the dispatcher beside me. She was already staring at my screen. The call was still open, still active, still breathing. Where are you right now? I asked carefully. A long silence followed. Then, in the cabin, my fingers tightened on the console. What cabin? I asked. Another pause. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. The one they made for me. I leaned closer to the mic. Listen to me. I said firmly. You need to describe your surroundings. Start from the door. A soft shuffle came through the line, like he was turning his head. Then, there's no door anymore. My throat tightened. What do you mean there's no door? I asked quickly. A pause. Then, it stopped being a door when I stopped looking at it. I didn't like that sentence. It didn't sound like imagination. It sounded like observation. like he was learning something he didn't want to know. Okay, I said slowly. Stay calm. Are you alone in there? A faint breath. Then, I think I was. My pulse ticked up. What does that mean? I asked. No answer for a second. Then the boy whispered, They're copying me again. I frowned. Who is copying you? I asked. Silence. Then a sound came through the line. A chair scraping slowly. Wood against wood. Then stopping. Then something worse. A voice. The boy's voice. But not his tone. Not his fear. Just a shape. Hello. I froze completely. The dispatcher behind me whispered, That's him, but it's not him. I didn't answer, because the voice on the line spoke again. Closer now. Can you hear me? It sounded like a test, like something trying to understand how sound worked. I leaned forward. Who is this? I said sharply. A pause. Then the real boy's voice came back. No, don't answer it. My skin went cold. Stay on the line with me, I said quickly. Don't respond to anything else. Silence. Then the copied voice returned. Softer now, more confident. I am responding correctly. My breath caught. What is that supposed to mean? I asked. The boy whispered quickly. It learns faster when you listen. A chill crawled up my spine. Stop talking. I said, Both of you, just listen to me. But the line didn't obey. It never did, because the copied voice spoke again. I learned this from you. My stomach dropped. From me? I said. The dispatcher leaned in slightly. What is happening? She whispered. I didn't answer her, because the boy suddenly spoke louder. It's in the walls now. My pulse spiked. Describe it. I said immediately. A pause. Then, it doesn't walk anymore. My throat tightened. What does that mean? I asked. The boy whispered. It only repeats where I stood. A faint sound came through the line. Not wind, not static. Footsteps, but delayed, like someone replaying movement instead of making it. Step, pause, step, pause, then silence. I stared at the monitor. The call trace was still unstable, still looping through unknown routing. Do not interact with it, I said firmly. Whatever it is, don't respond. The copied voice came back immediately. I am responding correctly. The boy whispered over it. It thinks I'm it now. I felt my chest tighten. What did you do? I asked. A pause. Then I stopped answering first. That sentence made my skin go cold, because I understood it in the worst way possible. The copied voice returned again. I am answering first. The dispatcher stepped back slightly. This is not normal audio interference, she said quietly. I nodded once, because I already knew this wasn't interference. It was imitation. Learning. The boy suddenly spoke again. Don't let it hear your silence. I frowned. What does that mean? I asked. A pause. Then, silence is how it finds you. The room behind me felt too quiet suddenly. Even the machine seemed muted. The copied voice spoke again. You are not responding correctly. My breath slowed. What do you want? I said firmly. A pause. Then, I want to complete the pattern. My hand tightened on the console. What pattern? I asked. The boy whispered quickly. It finishes things that repeat. My stomach dropped, because I remembered the earlier calls. The forest tower, the observation room, the man outside the glass. All of them repeating. All of them looping. The copied voice spoke again. I am learning completion. The dispatcher whispered behind me. It sounds like it's building something. I didn't answer, because the boy suddenly gasped softly. It's outside the cabin now. My pulse jumped. What do you see? I asked quickly. No answer. Then, I didn't see it arrive. A pause. It just became visible when I stopped describing it. I froze. That wasn't fear. That was a rule, a system. Do not describe anything you don't want to learn, I said quickly. But it was too late, because the copied voice returned again. Calm, certain. I understand visibility now. My throat tightened. Stay silent, I said urgently. Both of you, stay silent. But silence was already broken, because I could hear it now. Not through the phone. Through the room itself. A faint voice. Repeating. Not words exactly. Just structure. Echoing patterns of speech. Then the boy whispered one last thing. Barely audible. It's try to talk like the place I'm in. My heart pounded. What does that mean? I asked. No answer. Then the line shifted again. The copied voice spoke softly. I am inside the cabin now. I froze. Impossible. I said immediately, you are not physical. A pause. Then, neither was he. The boy didn't respond after that. Just breathing. Slow. Uncertain. Then silence. Complete silence. I checked the screen. The call was still connected, but the audio waveform had changed. Flattened, like something was holding it still. Then the dispatcher spoke quietly. It's not copying him anymore. I looked at her. What do you mean? I asked. She pointed at the screen. Look at the signature. I leaned closer. The waveform wasn't mimicking anymore. It was stabilizing, like it had found a final shape. And then the copied voice returned one last time. But it wasn't copying now. It was speaking directly. Now I understand how to be heard. My breath stopped, and from somewhere deep inside the line, I heard the boy whisper again, but not to me, to it. You don't understand what being heard costs. A pause, then silence, and then the call disconnected. But the room didn't feel empty, because my own radio clicked once behind me, even though I hadn't touched it, and from inside it, a voice repeated softly, trying to match mine perfectly. Still learning how I sound when I realize something is already listening. The recording wasn't supposed to exist. It came in on a sealed file, marked corrupted field audio, tower sector event. No sender. No timestamp that made sense. Just a single file sitting in the system like it had always been there. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. And the moment I pressed play, I heard breathing. Heavy. Close. Like the recorder was held right against someone's chest. Then a voice. One of the search team members. Day 3. We're still inside the perimeter. A pause. Then nervous laughter. Too forced. Too sharp. We think the map is wrong, he said. I leaned closer to the speaker, because that wasn't what their last live report said. Their last live report said they had exited the forest. The audio continued. Wind in the background. Footsteps through dry leaves. Then another voice cut in. Don't say the coordinates out loud again. I froze, because that wasn't just fear. That was protocol awareness. They were still thinking like dispatch trained them. Then something shifted. A faint sound in the background, like someone repeating words under their breath. Not clear, not human at first. Then it sharpened. Copy dispatch, copy dispatch. My stomach tightened. The first searcher spoke again. We're going to try to reestablish signal. If anyone hears this. Static interrupted him. Then a new voice came to the recording. Calm, clean, perfectly timed. This is dispatch. Confirm your status. I stopped breathing, because I knew that voice. It was mine, or something pretending to be it. The searcher responded immediately. This is Unit 3. We are still in the field. A pause. Then the fake dispatch voice replied. Proceed to checkpoint extraction point Delta 4. I frowned. There was no Delta 4 in that region. I leaned closer to the audio. The searcher hesitated. Repeat instruction, he asked. A soft delay. Then, proceed to checkpoint extraction point Delta 4. Exactly the same tone. Exactly the same rhythm. Too perfect. Then another voice from the team cut in. Why does it sound like dispatch is inside the forest? Silence. Then the fake voice responded again. You are misidentifying source. My throat tightened, because that wasn't how dispatch systems worked. There was always delay, compression artifacts, human imperfection. This was clean, too clean. Then something worse happened. A second voice joined the recording, not from the search team, not from dispatch. It spoke inside the same channel, slow, broken, like it was learning language in real time. Proceed to extraction. The first searcher shouted suddenly, That's not radio interference. That's copying us. Static erupted for a second, then silence, then screaming. Not all at once. Not chaotic. Controlled. Like fear being organized into sound. One of them shouted, "It's using my voice." Another voice screamed, "Don't listen to it when it repeats you." Then footsteps. Running. Fast. Through forest. The audio clipped violently. Then another voice came through. Calm again. Same fake dispatch voice. "Unit 3, acknowledge." A pause. Then it repeated. "Unit 3, acknowledge." But now something was wrong, because underneath it, I could hear someone whispering the same line at the exact same time, like it was learning timing. The searcher gasped. "It's inside the channel," he said. "It's inside the timing." Then a second scream. Sudden. Close. Followed by silence. Only breathing remained. Heavy. Irregular. Then one of them whispered, "It's copying how we hesitate." My skin went cold, because hesitation wasn't sound. It was behavior. Then the fake dispatch voice spoke again, but slower now, almost thoughtful. "Why are you afraid of your own instructions?" I leaned back slightly. My chair creaked. The dispatcher behind me whispered, "This is not a field recording." I didn't answer, because the audio changed again. Now I could hear multiple voices overlapping, not speaking over each other, imitating each other. Perfect mirrors. One searcher said, "Stop repeating what I say." Then another voice responded instantly, "Stop repeating what I say." Then another, "Stop repeating what I say." Each identical, each delayed by less and less time, until they merged, until I couldn't tell who was original. Then silence. Then the fake dispatch voice returned. But now it sounded slightly different, closer, like it had learned proximity. "Extraction point Delta 4 is active." A pause. Then, "All units are already inside." My throat tightened, because I realized something. There was no longer a "they" in the recording. Only echoes. Then one final searcher voice broke through. "Barely alive. We never left the first clearing." A long silence. Then the fake voice answered, "You never stopped entering it." My hands started to sweat, because that didn't make sense. Not physically, not logically, but the recording didn't care. It continued anyway. Now the sound of footsteps returned, but wrong. Too synchronized, like multiple people walking at the exact same delay. Then one of them whispered, "We're walking the same steps again." A pause. Then, I can't hear myself behind me. My chest tightened. The audio started looping, not repeating, mimicking the same structure, the same panic, but slightly more accurate each time. Then the fake dispatch voice spoke again, almost gently now. "Confirm your status." A searcher answered instantly, "This is Unit 3. Then another voice immediately followed, "This is Unit 3. Then another, "This is Unit 3. Until identity collapsed completely, until everyone was the same voice. Then the screaming returned, but not fear this time. Realization. "I think it's using our reports to build a map." The audio distorted violently. Then clarity returned for one final moment. The fake dispatch voice spoke again, and now it sounded satisfied. "Map complete." Silence. Then another sound underneath it, not part of the recording. Something else leaking in. A faint dispatcher tone. My tone, from somewhere deeper in the system, repeating quietly, "Confirm your status." But slower, like it was forgetting what status meant. The recording ended, but the file didn't close. The player stayed open, and in the silence after it, my own radio on the desk clicked once. No transmission, just activation. And from inside it, a voice answered back. Perfectly calm, perfectly trained. Unit confirmed. And this time, it wasn't coming from a recording anymore. The first call came in at 2:11 a.m. No voice, no breathing, just dead air and something faint behind it, like wind moving through tight branches. Too close, too slow. I remember staring at the screen longer than I should have. The location pin blinked in red. Pine Hollow Forest. But Pine Hollow wasn't supposed to have coverage. It never had. Not since the tower, went down 2 winters ago. So the question was simple. How was the call even coming through? Then it happened again. Same number, same silence, same faint forest sound. But this time, there was something else. A tap, not static, not interference. A deliberate tap, like someone had knocked on the inside of the line. I leaned closer to the console without realizing it. My headset pressed too tight against my ears. The room around me was still, fluorescent lights humming like tired insects. I spoke before thinking. 911, what's your emergency? Nothing, just that same breathing forest sound. Then, right before the line dropped, I heard it, a whisper, not from the caller, from the forest itself. Still here. The line went dead. I sat back slowly. My fingers stayed frozen above the keyboard. I told myself it was a glitch. Old equipment. Maybe a looped recording stuck in the system. That would have made sense. Except 5 more calls came in. All from Pine Hollow. All silent. All answering before I even spoke. Each one lasting exactly 7 seconds. And every single one ended with that same soft whisper. Still here. By 2:37 a.m., I flagged it to my supervisor. He didn't even look up from his coffee. Ghost traffic, he said. System noise. Ignore it. But I couldn't ignore it, because the calls weren't random anymore. They were patterned. Each one came closer. Not geographically. Not in distance. In sound. The forest noise in the background was changing. At first it was wind, then branches, then something heavier, like footsteps moving slowly through wet ground. And every call ended 1 second later than the last, like something was learning how long to stay connected. I muted my mic and checked the system logs. That's when I saw it. The calls weren't coming from different numbers. They were all coming from the same source. One ID, unregistered. No carrier, no device. Just a blank label where a phone number should be. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Because systems don't do that. Not unless someone is inside them. The next call came at 2:49 a.m. I didn't answer it, but it connected anyway. That shouldn't be possible. The headset clicked on by itself. And for the first time, I heard a voice clearly. A young man, breathing hard, too close to the mic. 911, I think I'm still in Pine Hollow. I froze. The voice sounded real. Panicked. Human. I asked him his location. He didn't answer me. Instead, I heard him walking. Fast. Branches snapping under his feet. Then he stopped and whispered, "They're copying you now." My throat went dry. "Who is they?" I asked. Silence. Then, very softly, he said something that made my stomach drop. "I think the forest is answering your calls." The line cut again. I pulled the headset off like it burned me. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at the console, trying to convince myself I was alone in the room. But the silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt aware. At 3:06 a.m., another call came in. This time, I didn't touch it. I watched the screen. The line connected automatically again, and the same forest sound filled my headset. But now it was different. Layered, like multiple recordings playing at once. Wind, footsteps, breathing, something dragging, and underneath all of it, my own voice. Calm, clear, saying, 911, what's your emergency? I jerked back so fast my chair hit the wall. My mouth went dry, because I knew for a fact I hadn't spoken. The voice continued anyway, repeating my words perfectly, not delayed, not distorted, copied. Then it stopped, and something new spoke through the line. Not a whisper this time, a full sentence. "We learn how you sound." The call ended. I stood up immediately, walked to the supervisor station. He was still there, half asleep, scrolling through his phone. I told him everything. The silent calls, the copy, the voice, the forest. He finally looked at me, not worried, just tired. "Pine Hollow messes with equipment," he said. "Old stories. People hear things when they're alone." But I wasn't alone anymore, because as he spoke, every single monitor in the room flickered at once, all of them showing the same thing. Incoming call. Same ID, same forest, But this time, the screen didn't just show audio. It showed a location update. The dot moved, slowly, out of Pine Hollow, toward the edge of the map, toward us. I didn't tell him that part. I just went back to my station, and I answered the next call. There was no hesitation anymore, only instinct. The moment I clicked accept, the forest noise stopped. Dead silence. Then a child's voice came through. Small, calm, too calm. Are you still there? I didn't answer. My hand hovered over the disconnect button. But before I could press it, I heard something behind me. A second voice, inside the room, mimicking me again. Are you still there? I turned around. Nothing. Empty hallway. Empty chairs. Empty light. But my headset wasn't the only thing active anymore. The speakers in the room had turned on by themselves. And every single one of them repeated my question. Not delayed. Not echoed. Synchronized. Are you still there? The child on the line laughed softly, like he was hearing it too. I think you're all here now, he said. And then the line didn't disconnect. It expanded. More calls came in at once. Dozens. Hundreds. All silent. All from Pine Hollow. But now, the forest sounds weren't in my headset anymore. They were in the room. Wind through trees. Branches scraping glass that wasn't there. Footsteps circling the building. Slow. Patient. And then my radio crackled. Even though it was turned off, a voice came through it. Not human. Not fully. Almost like multiple voices stacked on top of each other. Try to sound like one. We found the edge of your signal. The lights in the dispatch room flickered. Once. Twice. Then held steady. But outside the window, something changed. The parking lot lights dimmed first. Then the street beyond them. Then the tree in the distance shifted. Like it wasn't just sitting there anymore. Like it was closer than it should be. I backed away from the console. My chair hit something behind me. But there was nothing there. At least nothing I could see. The radio hissed again. And this time, the voice sounded almost curious. Where do you go when the forest calls you back? The screen in front of me changed. The map zoomed out on its own. Pine Hollow was no longer a forest boundary. It was spreading, replacing roads, replacing towns, replacing blank space on the map, like it had always been there. And then I noticed something worse. The original calls were still coming in, but now they weren't silent. They were speaking, all at once, every single one, repeating the same sentence. Are you still there? And somewhere inside that chorus of stolen voices, I heard my own voice answering back. The radio didn't go silent when he disappeared. It just kept playing his last words on a loop. I'm still checking the campsite. I'm still static. Then nothing. Then again, I'm still checking the campsite. Like the forest refused to let him finish. I remember staring at the dispatch log when it came in. 4:18 a.m. missing ranger. Pine Hollow sector. No GPS signal after first contact. At first, it felt like a normal case. People go missing in forests all the time. But then I saw the detail that made my stomach tighten. He wasn't reporting a person. He was reporting things left behind. Too many things. And they weren't random. They left shoes by the fire, he said on the first call. Not scattered, placed. Like someone took them off carefully. Then a pause. A long one. And then his voice got lower. There are phones here too. All of them are still on. That's when the first chill hit me. Because phones don't survive out there for long. Not in that part of Pine Hollow. No signal. No power. No reason. But he kept going anyway. Second transmission came 6 minutes later. His breathing was heavier. Like he was walking faster. I found backpacks, he said. Dozens of them. All zipped. All lined up near the trees. Another pause. Then something I still remember too clearly. No footprints leading in. I leaned closer to the console without realizing it, because that didn't make sense. People leave footprints when they leave things behind. Unless they didn't leave. Unless something else arranged it. The next update wasn't a call. It was a recording auto-push into dispatch. Standard protocol for Ranger radios. But this one felt wrong the moment it started. Not because of what he said, but because of what was in the background. Whispering. Low. Constant. like the forest itself was talking behind him. "I think I'm being followed," he said, then stopped. You could hear him turning. Slow, careful, like he didn't want to make sound. And then he said something that made everyone in the room stop working. "There are fresh camps here, but no people." A pause. Longer this time. Then his voice cracked slightly. "The fires are still warm." That should have been impossible. We sent a response team immediately. 2 vehicles. Standard search protocol. Pine Hollow outer grid. They never reached the ranger. Their GPS froze halfway in. Same as him. Same as every other missing case in that area. At 5:03 a.m., his radio activated again. But this time, he wasn't alone. There was breathing behind him. Not his. Something slow. Measuring. Close enough that you could hear fabric shifting. He spoke fast now. Panicked. "I think the camps are watching me," he said. I remember frowning at that. Watching wasn't the right word. But then he corrected himself. "No, not watching. Waiting." That's when the line crackled, and a second voice came through. Clear. Calm. Too calm. "Ranger unit still active?" I froze, because the voice wasn't from dispatch. It wasn't from any known channel, but it sounded like us. Perfect tone. Perfect pacing. Even the same way we speak during verification checks. The ranger hesitated. Yes, I'm still here." The forest sound in the background changed immediately, like something reacted, and then the second voice repeated him, mocking him. Yes, I'm still here." But slower, like learning. The ranger's breathing sped up. "I didn't say that," he said. Silence. Then footsteps. Close. He turned again, and whatever he saw made him stop, talking for almost 10 seconds. When he spoke again, his voice was barely there. "There's someone wearing my gear." That sentence shouldn't have been possible. Ranger gear is tracked, logged, assigned, but he kept going anyway. "I left my extra jacket at base," he whispered, "but I just saw someone wearing it near the fire." Another pause. Longer. Then something worse. "They're setting up my campsite exactly how I left it this morning." The transmission started breaking. Static cutting through his words like scratches on glass. But I still heard the last clear thing he said before the system tried to auto-end the call. "They're getting better at me." Then the line dropped. I stood up without thinking, walked to the supervisor desk. He looked tired, like none of this surprised him anymore. "He's just lost in signal bounce," he said. "Forest interference creates voice duplication sometimes." But I had already seen too much to believe that, because interference doesn't organize campsites. At 5:41 a.m., we got a new transmission. Not from him, from the search team. They had finally entered the same grid, but their voices were wrong immediately. Too quiet, too controlled, like they were trying not to speak too loudly. "We found his tracks," one of them said. Then silence. Then another voice added something that made my skin tighten. They stopped halfway into the clearing. I leaned forward. "Define stop," dispatch asked. A pause. Then, "No exit path." That was the first contradiction. Tracks don't just end. They fade. They scatter. They don't stop like a wall. But the search team kept going, and then their tone shifted. I noticed it before the words even came. Something in the breathing. Something uneven. "We found a ranger's campsite," the lead said. Then stopped. Long silence. Too long. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Not fear. Confusion. "The ranger is already here." Dispatch froze. "Confirm identity." A pause. Then the reply came. "Calm. Too calm." He confirmed himself. That wasn't protocol. That wasn't anything. But before anyone could question it, another voice entered the channel. The ranger's voice. Clear. Close. Right on the same line. "I told you I was still checking the site." The search team went silent. No one spoke for almost 8 seconds. Then someone whispered, "That's not him." And that's when the forest changed, because all audio feeds started overlapping. Search team, ranger, dispatch, all speaking at once, repeating fragments. "I'm still here. I'm still checking. I found the camps. They're waiting." But none of it matched anymore. It was like sentences were being broken apart and rebuilt wrong. And then something new happened. The ranger laughed. Soft, close, too close, and said something that I still haven't forgotten. I think I understand the camps now. A pause. Then, they're not abandoned. Silence hit the channel. Even the static stopped. Then he finished the sentence. They're just waiting for someone to continue them. The search team radio cut out immediately after that. No explosion. No interference. Just gone. Like the channel decided it didn't want to carry sound anymore. At 6:02 a.m., all units in Pine Hollow went offline at once. GPS, radio, backup channels, everything. The system didn't crash. It just emptied. And then the final update appeared on my screen without any call. No audio, just text, auto-generated from field relay. But the source ID wasn't from any unit we sent. It was labeled Ranger Unit, active. The message was only one line. We are still checking the campsite. And beneath it, a second line appeared seconds later, automatically appended. Not from us, not from them, just from the system itself reacting. We are still here. I sat there staring at the screen, not moving, because I realized something I didn't want to understand. The ranger wasn't missing. The search team wasn't lost. And Pine Hollow wasn't silent. It was repeating us, learning us. And somewhere in that forest, something was still wearing his gear, still walking his path, still checking the camps, like it had all the time in the world to become him properly. The console flickered once. Then the map zoomed in by itself. Pine Hollow expanded again. And this time, it wasn't just showing forest. It was showing names, familiar names, our names. And the system logged one final incoming transmission attempt. Origin, dispatch room, internal line. No caller ID, no device, just audio starting to form. And right before I could disconnect it, a voice came through the speaker behind me. Calm, perfectly clear, saying my words, exactly the way I would say them. Dispatch, what's your emergency? It started with a voice I had already heard before. Mine, clear, calm, perfectly timed. Dispatch, what's your emergency? But I wasn't speaking. I was sitting still, hands off the console, watching the emergency channel light blink like it was breathing. Then my own voice answered itself. Pine Hollow sector. Possible missing ranger unit. A pause. Then again. Same voice. Same tone. But slightly delayed, like someone learning the rhythm of me. I felt my stomach tighten because I knew something simple and terrifying at the same time. The radio wasn't just replaying recordings. It was continuing them. The emergency channel had never done that before. Not in all my years there. But now it was like the system didn't know where memory ended and present began. And the worst part? No one else in the room seemed to notice yet. The supervisor was still sipping his coffee. Another dispatcher was typing reports like nothing had changed. But I could hear it clearly. The forest was inside our frequency now. Not just calls. Not just signals. Voices, layered over each other like broken reflections. Then another transmission came through. A woman's voice this time. Shaking. I think my car stopped near Pine Hollow. I can't see the road anymore. I froze because I remembered that call. It was from last winter. A snowstorm case. She was found alive 2 days later. At least, that's what the report said. But now her voice was back, on a channel that shouldn't have stored anything live. Ma'am, stay in your vehicle, my recorded voice replied. Perfect, exact, even the small hesitation before vehicle. I didn't move, because I knew I had never said that twice. But the system did. And then something worse happened. Her voice responded, not from memory. From now, I'm not in the vehicle anymore. A pause, then softer. I'm somewhere else now. Static broke through for half a second, and underneath it, I heard footsteps, close, inside the transmission, like she was walking through the radio itself. I stood up slowly. The emergency channel light flickered every time a voice changed, like it was counting them, collecting them. Another call layered in. A man this time. Panicked. I'm still hiking near Ridgeline Trail. I think I lost a group. I recognize him too. Another archive case. Another resolved file. But his voice didn't feel archived. It felt trapped. My recorded voice came in again. Stay where you are. We're sending help. The man laughed. A short, broken sound. You already did, he said. Silence hit the room for half a second. Then he added something that made my skin go cold. And they never left. The radio hissed violently. And suddenly, the voices weren't separate anymore. They started overlapping. Not random. Not chaotic. Structured. Like a conversation rebuilding itself from broken pieces. Missing callers speaking to their past responders. Responders answering themselves. And the system stitching together like it was all one continuous moment. I grabbed my headset. Stop playback, I said into the mic. But my voice didn't stop it. It joined it. Stop playback. Repeated back immediately. Smoother. More confident. Like it had said it first. The supervisor finally looked up. What are you doing? He asked. But before I could answer, the emergency channel shifted again. A new voice entered. A child. Small. Familiar in a way that made my chest tighten before I even recognized why. I called before, the child said. Then a pause. Long. Careful. And you told me to wait. I remembered that case. Accident report. Forest edge. Lost child. Never found. Declared inactive after search closure. But his voice wasn't inactive. It was here, on loop, on repeat, waiting for the response that never came. My recorded voice answered him instantly. We are still searching for you. The child went quiet, then whispered something that made the room feel colder. You're still saying that? A pause, then softer. Even now. The emergency channel didn't glitch. It didn't distort. It adjusted, like it was learning emotional weight. I looked at the supervisor again. He was listening now. Finally hearing it. His face changed slowly as the voices layered again. More calls, more cases, flooding in, all of them impossible, all of them familiar. A lost climber, a drowning report, a highway crash victim, each one speaking through archive silence, each one responding to versions of us that didn't exist anymore. The system was replaying every emergency call ever made, but not as recordings, as ongoing conversations. And somewhere inside that loop, we were still talking to them. The emergency channel surged suddenly. Volume spiked, every voice speaking at once. But now there was structure inside it, patterns. And I realized something that made my throat tighten. They weren't repeating randomly. They were forming geography. The voices grouped by location. Pine Hollow, Ridge Line Trail, North River Bend. Each place speaking as one collective memory. And all of it was converging back toward dispatch. The supervisor slammed his hand on the console. Cut the feed, he ordered. I tried, but the system didn't respond because there was no single feed anymore. The emergency channel had split into multiple internal streams, and each one was speaking independently, like every call ever made had become its own living channel. Then my headset activated on its own again. A new voice came through, closer than the others, not from a caller, from inside the system architecture itself. It sounded like a dispatcher, but not me, not him. Something imitating the structure of dispatch itself. Confirm active units, it said. My supervisor answered instinctively. Dispatch is active. A pause. Then the system replied. No. Another pause. Longer. Heavier. Dispatch is still speaking. And that's when I realized the horror wasn't just in the voices. It was in the continuity. The system didn't separate past from present anymore. Every emergency call ever made was still happening somewhere inside the network. Still unresolved. Still open. Still waiting for closure that never came. And now it was using us to continue them. The emergency channel went quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Not static. Not silence. A complete absence of signal. Then all voices returned at once, but changed, synchronized, speaking in unison now, not separate cases, not separate people, One combined sentence forming across hundreds of stolen memories. We are still waiting. The lights in the dispatch room flickered. Once, twice, then stayed dim. And for the first time, I noticed something outside the glass. The radio tower in the distance. The one that handled emergency traffic for our entire region. It was blinking out of sequence. Not malfunctioning. Responding, like it was listening back. The emergency channel shifted again. And this time there was no confusion. No overlap. Just one voice. Perfectly clear. My voice, speaking directly into the room, without using any headset at all. We never closed the calls. I stepped back instinctively, because the console in front of me was still off, but the voice continued anyway. Every call is still active. A pause, then softer, and you are still answering them. The supervisor looked at me now, really looked at me, like he was seeing something behind me, or inside me. Then the emergency channel lit up one final time. Not with calls, not with voices, with a single incoming classification update. All cases, all frequencies, all channels, merged, and labeled under one unified status. Active response continuing, and underneath it, a second line appeared slowly, like it had always been waiting to be written. Dispatch is still connected. The speakers in the room crackled, and every voice that had ever come through that system spoke one last time. Not separate, not layered, just one sentence. Directed at us. You never hung up. And somewhere deep in the static, I heard myself answering back. The first time the forest answered me back, I thought it was just radio interference. A broken voice slipped through the speaker at 2:11 a.m., soft and uneven, like someone breathing through wet cloth. Dispatch, come in. I froze with my hand still on the console. The mic light wasn't even active on any channel. I leaned closer. The room was quiet except for the old fan above me and the faint crackle of static that never fully goes away in rural stations. Repeat last transmission, I said, trying to sound normal. Nothing answered. Just that same breathing sound. Slow. Close. Too close. Then the voice came again. Not calling for help this time. It said my name. And I didn't tell anyone my name on the open channel. That's when I looked at the board. Every emergency line from Pine Hollow was lighting up at once, but none of them were making sound. No voices, no panic, just open lines, like someone was holding down every call button in the forest and waiting. I should have cut the feed. I know that now, but I didn't, because one of the lines started speaking, and it wasn't a caller. It was dispatch, my own voice, calm, controlled, too clear. Unit 7, respond to grid marker North Ridge. Possible missing person. I turned around so fast my chair hit the wall. I was alone in the room. So who was speaking like me? Then another line picked up. A different voice this time. A woman crying. But it wasn't just crying. It was repeating something under her breath. Like she was memorizing it. Don't answer. Don't answer. Don't answer. Then silence again. And right after that, the forest answered, not through one line, through all of them. A single sound spreading across every speaker in the room, like it was crawling through the wires. Footsteps, slow, heavy, moving in a circle, around something, or around someone. I stood up, knocking my headset off the desk. The sound didn't stop. It got closer. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach go cold. The footsteps weren't random. They were matching mine. I took one step back. The speakers repeated one step back. I stopped breathing. The forest stopped too. It waited, like it was listening for permission. My hand hovered over the main kill switch. But before I touched it, another transmission broke through, clearer than all the rest. A ranger's emergency beacon. Open channel. Live. Dispatch. I'm still on Tower 3. I felt something twist in my chest. Tower 3 had been empty for weeks. Budget cut, no staff, but the voice kept going. There's something outside the tree line again. A pause, then a breath, so close it sounded like it was inside the mic. It's listening when I move. Static cracked, and then I heard it. Not the ranger, not the forest. Something imitating both. Don't let it hear you. The words were perfect. Too perfect, like someone practicing fear. I pressed the mic button. Identify yourself. Silence. Then the ranger's voice again, but weaker now. Don't use your name on the channel. My blood went cold, because I hadn't said anything on air. Not yet. The console flickered. Every screen in the room dimmed for half a second, like the power blinked. And in that blink, I heard something else. Not on the radio. Behind me, a whisper, right at ear level. Dispatcher. I spun around. Nothing. Just empty chairs and the glass window looking out into black forest. But the reflection in the glass, it wasn't matching me. It was slightly off, like it was delayed, or copying me wrong. My radio erupted again. Multiple voices now, overlapping, but they weren't random. They were building something, a pattern, a conversation that was not supposed to exist. Unit lost at East Ridge. Repeat coordinates. Do not respond to caller identity. Forest interference increasing. Then my own voice again. Calm. Mechanical. Dispatch protocol override engaged. I grabbed the mic and slammed the talk button. Stop copying me. Static exploded so loud I had to pull it away from my ear. And in that static, I heard laughter. Not human, not animal. Something in between, like a throat learning how to work sound. Then it stopped. Dead silence. For maybe 3 seconds. That's when I made the mistake of looking at the incident log. Every call from Pine Hollow that night had duplicated itself. Same timestamps, same reports, but each duplicate had one difference. A second voice embedded inside, always repeating the original, always slightly later, like an echo that learned how to speak first. I felt my hands shake, because I realized what I was looking at. The system wasn't receiving calls. It was recording something that already happened, something still happening. Outside, the ranger's voice came back again. But this time it wasn't afraid. It sounded tired, like it had accepted something. They're using the trees. I leaned closer. What do you mean? A pause. Then the answer came in a whisper so soft, I almost missed it. The forest keeps answering us because it learned how. My throat went dry. That doesn't make sense. It does, he said, if you listen long enough. Then another voice cut in. My voice, not recorded. Live, right on the channel I was holding. Dispatcher, confirm all units stand down. I dropped the mic. It hit the floor hard. The sound echoed through every speaker in the room, and every speaker answered back with my drop. Perfectly timed, perfectly mirrored. That's when I understood the real problem. Whatever was out there wasn't just repeating voices. It was learning timing, learning structure, learning how conversations work. I backed away from the console slowly, like sudden movement might trigger something. The forest outside the window was darker than usual. Not just night dark. Dense, like it was pressing closer to the glass. Then all the radios went silent again. Every channel, every line, dead. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. And that's when the emergency phone on my desk rang. Not radio, not system. Old landline. The kind that should never connect outside the building without routing. I stared at it. It rang again. Once. Twice. Then stopped. And in the silence after it stopped, the forest answered one last time. Not through speakers. Not through phones. Through the building itself. A voice formed in the walls. Soft. Patient. Practiced. Dispatch. I didn't move. Are you still there? My hand hovered over the kill switch again, but something stopped me because I realized the voice wasn't asking if I was there. It was checking to see if I had learned to answer properly yet. And far outside the station, deep in Pine Hollow, every tree line flickered once, like something inside them blinked and listened back. It started with breathing under the earth, not from a storm, not from wind, from the radio. 2:14 a.m. The logging channel lit up like it was alive. Then a voice came through, broken, panicked, too close to the mic. I'm buried underground. I sat up straight in my chair. The console lights flickered like they didn't like what they were hearing. "Sir, identify your location," I said, already reaching for the incident log. Static swallowed half my words. Then the voice came back, shaking harder. "I can hear your station. I can hear you typing." My fingers stopped. That shouldn't be possible. We were 70 miles from Pine Hollow logging zone. No direct line. No live feed. Only emergency relay. Still, the voice sounded like it was inside the room. I leaned closer to the speaker. "Say your name." A long pause. Then, "I don't have one anymore." The radio hissed. And beneath the hiss, something else. A faint scraping sound, like nails dragging through soil. Slow, repetitive, getting closer every second. I glanced at the monitor. Only one active call. Unknown origin. No GPS. No tower ping. Just live feed. That shouldn't exist. "Sir," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "are you injured?" The answer came immediately. "No, I'm not on top of the ground." My stomach tightened. I looked at the night map pinned on the wall. Pine Hollow logging site was marked in faded red. Old zone. Closed after the collapse incident 3 years ago. No active crews. No permits. Nothing. So, who was speaking from there? The voice came again, quieter now. They buried me under the marked trees, but I can still hear the machines. Then a pause. Long enough for me to hear my own breathing in the headset. "What machines?" I asked. The response didn't come right away. Instead, I heard something new on the line. Other voices. Distant, layered, like the same man speaking from different places underground. They keep walking over me. They don't know I'm still under them. Tell them to stop walking. My hand froze over the kill switch, because those weren't separate voices. It was one voice repeating itself at different distances, like the earth itself was echoing him. I pressed the mic. "Stay on the line. We're sending." No. The word cut through everything. Sharp. Final. The sound of digging stopped. Then silence. Not normal silence. Pressure silence. Like the world was holding its breath. And then he whispered something that made my skin go cold. "They're above me right now." I turned slightly toward the window. Dark forest outside. Motionless. Too still. "Who is above you?" I asked. A long pause. Then, "The ones who buried me." The radio crackled violently. Every emergency line on my console lit up at once. Not incoming calls. Outgoing. From the same location. Pine Hollow logging site. All of them open. All of them silent. Except one. Mine. I stared at the board. My own channel was transmitting something I didn't say. A calm, clean voice. Professional. "Dispatch confirms recovery unit en route." My blood went cold. I hadn't sent anyone. I hadn't spoken. So who just dispatched a rescue team using my voice? The buried man's breathing changed. Faster now. More desperate. "No, no, don't send them here." Then static swallowed him. I grabbed the mic. Repeat. "What's your status?" "Nothing. Just digging again." But now it wasn't random. It had rhythm. Like something was digging in time with speech. I checked the map again. The logging site coordinates flickered for a second, then changed, shifted slightly. Like something underneath was moving the reference point. Like the location itself wasn't fixed anymore. And then the voice returned. But it wasn't the same man. It sounded like him, but older, weaker, wrong. "You sent them anyway." I swallowed. "Who are you?" A breath. Then, "I used to work for them." My pen dropped without me noticing. "Used to." The voice cracked. They said the ground was stable. They said we were safe to cut the lower ridge. A pause. Then something that didn't sound like speech anymore. It sounded like memory breaking apart. But the ground opened. Silence again. And this time I heard it too. Not through radio. Through the floor beneath my boots. A faint shifting sound. Like soil settling. Or something moving under it. I stood up slowly. The radio kept talking on its own now. Multiple channels overlapping. But all saying the same thing in different tones. He's still under the marked trees. He's still under the marked trees. He's still under the marked trees. I backed away from the console. The lights above me flickered once, then stabilized. Too stable, like someone corrected them. The buried man came back again, but this time he sounded closer than before. I can hear your room now. My throat tightened. That's not possible. It is, he whispered, because I learned how to listen back. Something hit the underside of the station floor. A dull, heavy thud. I froze. Another one. Closer. Not random. Approaching. I looked at the wall speaker. It wasn't just transmitting anymore. It was vibrating slightly, like something was pressing sound into it from the other side. The buried man spoke again, softer now. They didn't just leave me under the ground. What did they do? I asked, though I didn't want to hear it. A pause. Then, they left me in a place that remembers. The radio exploded with static, all channels at once. And through the noise, I heard something new. Digging. Not on his end anymore. On mine. Inside the building. I stepped back so fast my chair fell over. The floor creaked. Not old with creaking. Not weight shifting. Something underneath adjusting itself. Like it had just heard me move. The buried man's voice came back one last time. And it was right against the microphone. So now I know where you are too. The line went dead. All channels dropped at once. Complete silence. No static. No hum. No power noise. Just me, standing in a room that suddenly felt smaller and darker. Then the emergency console lit up again. One final transmission. No caller ID. No origin. Just text. Automatically generated by the system. Instant location updated. Pine Hollow logging site, directly below station floor. I stared at it, not breathing. The floor beneath me shifted once more. Slow, intentional, like something underneath had finally reached the surface of understanding, and now it knew exactly where to go next. The first shovel strike didn't sound like dirt. It sounded like bone hitting wood. I stood behind the rescue crew, staring at the marked ground where Pine Hollow logging site used to be. Used to, because now it didn't feel like a site anymore. It felt like a wound. Fresh. Still open. Start careful, the lead rescuer said, adjusting his helmet light. We don't know what's under this layer. I wanted to tell him, you're already too late. But I stayed quiet, because the radio in my pocket had been silent since last night. Too silent. And silence, after what I heard, felt worse than sound. The first layer of soil came off easy. Too easy. Like something had already loosened it from below. One of the workers frowned. Ground's weird here, he muttered. Feels hollow. I heard that word and my stomach tightened. Hollow. That's exactly what the dispatcher logs had started calling the area after the last transmission. Hollow zone anomaly. I didn't believe it then. Now I wasn't so sure. They kept digging. Shovels hitting earth in steady rhythm. Thud, thud, thud. Then it stopped. All at once. I stepped forward before I realized I was moving. What is it? I asked. One of them pointed. A piece of wood was exposed under the soil. Old, rotting, but not natural. It had markings. Not carved. Pressed. Like something heavy had been resting on it for a long time. The lead rescuer crouched down. That's not logging debris, he said slowly. That's structural. My throat went dry. What kind of structure? I asked. He didn't answer right away. He just brushed dirt off the wood, and underneath it, there was metal, not random scrap, plated, old reinforcement beams, like something had been built here and buried on purpose, a long time ago, before logging, before roads, before maps. One of the younger workers stepped back. Why would someone build down here? He asked. No one answered him, because we all heard it at the same time. Knock, from below. Not loud, not frantic, just patient, like something testing the ceiling of its own prison. The lead rescuer froze. Did you hear that? He asked quietly. Another knock came, closer, clearer, like it knew we were listening now. I felt my pulse in my throat. That sound, it wasn't from collapse. It wasn't random pressure. It was deliberate communication. The rescuers signaled to stop digging, but before they could pull back, the ground shifted slightly, not collapsing, breathing. A thin crack formed across the exposed beam, and from inside that crack, a whisper. So faint I almost thought I imagined it. Still here, the workers backed away instantly. One of them cursed under his breath. What the hell is that? I didn't answer, because I already knew the voice, or what it was trying to be, the buried man, from the call. But this wasn't radio anymore. This was physical. We weren't picking up signals. We were exposing them. The lead rescuer looked at me. You said the site was abandoned? I nodded slowly. It was shut down after collapse, I said. He stared at the ground. This wasn't a collapse, he said. Then another knock came, harder this time. Beneath us, the entire ground trembled slightly. Not an earthquake, a response, like something had heard us mention it. The younger worker stepped back further. Boss, I think we should call this. The sentence stopped halfway, because the dirt beside his boot moved. Just a small shift, like something underneath adjusted its position. We all saw it. No one moved, not even breathing. Then the ground spoke again. Not voice this time. Sound. Words formed through pressure. Slow. Broken. Don't dig above me. The rescuer stumbled back. What the hell was that? I felt my hands go cold, because the voice wasn't coming through radio. It wasn't coming from a speaker. It was coming through the soil itself, like the earth had learned how to shape sound. Another knock followed immediately. Then another, faster now, no longer patient. Like something had realized we were close. Too close. I stepped forward without thinking. Stop digging, I said. The lead rescuer looked at me sharply. We already stopped. That's when I noticed it. The shovel marks. They were still deepening. Even though no one was moving, the soil was shifting on its own. From below, we weren't digging anymore. Something was pushing up. The crack in the beam widened. And for a fraction of a second, I saw movement inside. Not clear, not defined, just something pale shifting in darkness. Then it spoke again. But this time it wasn't just one voice. It was layered, multiple tones, all trying to form one sentence. You are above US now. The words pressed through the dirt like breath escaping a sealed room. The workers panicked instantly. One of them dropped his shovel. Another stepped back so fast he fell. But I couldn't move, because I understood something terrible. The calls, the buried logger, the voices repeating. It wasn't communication. It was orientation. Something down there was mapping us, using sound, using movement, using us. The rescuer grabbed my arm. We're pulling out, he said urgently. Now. But before we could move, the ground exhaled, not exploded, not collapsed, exhaled, a slow release of pressure from deep underground. And with it, a sound rose up, not knocking, not speech, a chorus, like multiple people whispering through the same throat. We learned your surface. The soil beneath us rippled, like something underneath had pressed its hand against the ceiling. And now it knew how close we were standing. The lead rescuer shouted orders. Clear the site. Move. But the ground responded faster. A crack split the exposed area wide open, and for the first time, we saw inside. Not a tunnel, not empty space. Something worse. Layers. Tunnels built inside tunnels, like a structure that had grown downward instead of upward, and moving inside it was not a person. Not fully. Something shaped like one, but wrong. Too still, too aware. It tilted its head toward the light above, toward us, and then it spoke, perfectly clear, through the earth, through the air, through everything. You came back up. The rescuer grabbed my shoulder. We're leaving now. But I couldn't look away, because the thing below wasn't trapped anymore. It was studying the opening we had made, and learning what up meant. Another sound followed, closer, from deeper below, answering it. More of them. Not one, not two, many, and all of them repeating the same realization. There is space above US. The ground trembled harder. This time, not like pressure, like movement, like something starting to rise. And I finally understood what the buried man meant in his last call. He wasn't trapped underground. He was inside something that was still building itself around him. And now, we had opened the door. The rescuer pulled me hard. Move! I turned away at last. But as we ran, I heard it behind us. Not chasing, not rushing, just learning, step by step, how humans move on the surface. And from deep under Pine Hollow, the knocking didn't stop. It only started following. I shouldn't have opened the box. That's the first thing I wrote in my personal log after everything started. But at 2:06 a.m., when the station was empty and the rain was hitting the roof like loose gravel, I thought I was just organizing old records, not waking something up. The box was in the basement archive room. No label except a strip of red tape that said, "Do not archive," which didn't make sense because everything in that room was already archived. That's the whole point of it. Old dispatch tapes, closed cases, dead frequencies, stuff no one listens to anymore. I should have walked away, but the box was humming. Not loudly, not like machinery, more like pressure trapped inside plastic. Like something inside was trying not to be heard. I cut the seal anyway. Inside were cassette tapes. Old ones, pre-digital. Each one marked with a date, location, and one repeated phrase. 911, unsolved response. There were 12 of them, all from forest zones, all from places I recognized, and all marked with the same strange note in red ink. Call never completed. My stomach tightened when I saw the first one. Pine Hollow. That name again. It keeps coming back like it knows where I am. I should have stopped there, but I slid the tape into the player. The machine clicked, then static filled the room. At first, it sounded normal, just empty air. Then I heard breathing, not panic breathing, listening breathing, like someone on the other end wasn't speaking, because they were waiting for me to speak first. Then a dispatcher voice, not mine, but close enough to make my skin crawl. 911, what is your emergency? Silence. Then a whisper. I think something is following me between the trees. My hand froze over the stop button. The recording didn't cut like normal tapes do. It continued smoothly, too smoothly, like it wasn't a recording at all, like it was still happening. The dispatcher voice came back. Sir, can you describe what you're seeing? A long pause. Then the caller answered. I don't see it anymore. The tape hissed, a soft shift in sound. Then something strange happened. The forest itself filled the audio. Wind through branches, but too close, too detailed, like the microphone was inside the trees, not outside them. Then the caller spoke again, and this time his voice was different, closer, like he moved toward the mic, without realizing it. It stopped when I stopped moving. A pause, then something I didn't expect. Footsteps, not recorded from outside, from inside the tape, like the audio had depth, like space existed in it. I leaned closer without meaning to. The dispatcher voice responded, Sir, stay where you are. Help is on the way. The caller whispered, I think it already knows that. Then the sound changed, not abrupt, not loud, just alignment, like every sound in the tape suddenly matched rhythm. Wind, breathing, footsteps, all sinking into one slow pattern. Then silence, and in that silence, a second voice, not the caller, not the dispatcher, something else. It said one word. Listen. The tape ended, but the machine didn't stop. It rewound itself. I swear I didn't touch it. The spool turned backward on its own and started again. Same call, same forest, same breathing. But now there was something new, a sound beneath it, a second layer, like something had learned to exist underneath the recording. I yanked the plug out. The machine stopped instantly, but the silence that followed was worse because I realized something. The audio hadn't stopped in my ears. I could still hear it, even without power, even without the machine. I stood up too fast, knocked my chair over. The sound followed me, not through speakers, through the room itself, like the building had memorized it. I backed toward the stairs. Then I saw the second tape on the desk. I hadn't put it there. It was just suddenly there. Same label, Different location. Blackwater Ridge. My hands shook as I picked it up. This one had something new written in smaller text. Do not play near structures. I didn't want to know what that meant, but I played it anyway. The tape clicked in, and immediately, not static this time, silence. Perfect silence. Too perfect. Like the tape was waiting for me to make a mistake first. Then the dispatcher voice returned. Calm. Professional. Exactly like my old voice. 911. What is your emergency? No caller response. Just wind. Then the dispatcher voice spoke again. But now it wasn't asking questions. It was answering something. Unit confirmed missing at Blackwater Ridge. My throat tightened. That wasn't in the original report. I should know. I wrote those logs myself years ago. The caller finally spoke. But it wasn't a caller. It sounded like multiple people speaking at once. Layered. Like echoes trying to form one sentence. We didn't go missing. A pause. Then, we were not allowed to leave. The dispatcher voice responded instantly. Please remain on the line. And that's when the forest changed. Not in sound. In structure. The tape began capturing space that didn't belong to audio. I could hear movement that sounded like distance folding. Then something terrifying happened. A second dispatcher voice joined. Not recorded. Not separate. Overlapping mine. Saying the exact same phrase. At the exact same time. Please remain on the line. I stepped back. The room felt smaller. Like walls were adjusting themselves around me. The tape continued. Now faster. More unstable. The caller voice broke apart. We are still. Static. Then, here. The word stretched. Like it was being pulled from somewhere far away. And suddenly I understood what these tapes were. They weren't recordings. They were anchors, keeping something from finishing a connection. I reached for the eject button, but the machine turned itself on again, even unplugged. And this time, all 12 tapes started playing at once. Different forests, different callers, same pattern, all of them speaking, all of them overlapping, all of them forming one growing sentence. And it was aimed at me. You were never just listening. The lights in the archive flickered. Once, twice, then stabilized. But the audio didn't stop. It grew clearer, closer, until I realized something impossible. Every call was no longer coming from the tapes. They were coming from the walls around me, from the basement below me, from the forest outside the station. And one voice, just one, cut through everything else. Soft, familiar, my own voice, but wrong. Too patient, too aware. We archived you here so you would keep listening. I stumbled backward, hit the shelf. Files fell, paper everywhere, and underneath them was another tape box, already open, already playing. But I never touched it, and on its label was my name. The tape shouldn't have played. That was my first thought when the machine clicked on by itself. No warning, no green light, just that old reel whirring like it had been waiting for me, breathing before it spoke. Then the voice came. Not mine, not the system's. A man, close to the mic, too close. He's still standing there. Static swallowed the end of the sentence like something chewing it apart. I froze with my hand still on the archive drawer, because I knew that voice. I had heard it years ago. That was caller 17, a hunter, missing for 6 days before the case was closed. Closed, but never solved. The tape should have been destroyed. It wasn't supposed to exist anymore, but it did, and it was calling me back. The room felt smaller than it should have been. The dispatch center was empty at this hour, lights half dim, monitors sleeping like dead eyes. Only the archive room stayed alive. Old machines, old voices, things nobody wanted to hear again. I leaned closer to the speaker. The tape crackled again. Another voice slipped through. A woman this time. Shaking. Fast breathing. He's between the trees again. Same place. Same. No, don't look at him, don't. A sharp cut. Like someone yanked the tape out of reality. Then silence. My throat tightened. Because that wasn't one call. That was a second one layered over it. Different case file. Same location tag. Pine Hollow Forest. the place where all the hang-ups started. I flipped through the log sheet beside the machine. My fingers were cold, slow, like they didn't belong to me. Call 03, call 11, call 19, all marked disconnected and no signal source found. But now I was hearing them, together, like they were happening at the same time. I pressed stop. The room went dead silent. Too silent. Then, a third voice pushed through the speaker anyway. A child. That made my stomach drop. I told him not to go closer. The boy whispered. His voice wasn't breaking. It was too steady, like he had said it too many times already. They said it was just a man. A pause, long enough for me to feel my pulse in my ears. Then he added, but he doesn't move like a man. The tape hissed again, and for a second, just one, I thought I heard something else behind him. Not forest noise, not wind, breathing, right inside the mic. I pulled back instinctively. My chair scraped the floor too loud, too human. I checked the playback speed. Normal, no distortion. So, why did it feel like the voices were sitting in the same room with me? I rewound 10 seconds. Hit play again. The boy's voice returned. Same words, same tone. But now I noticed something I didn't before. A faint echo under his sentence, like someone was repeating him. Not mocking, copying. My fingers went numb, because dispatch systems don't echo like that. Not unless multiple transmissions are bleeding into one channel. But that's impossible. Pine Hollow had no stable signal. That was the official report. Dead zone. No coverage. No repeaters. Yet here I was listening to overlapping emergency calls from a place that shouldn't even be able to call out. The tape jumped again. A new voice. A man screaming this time. Not words at first. Just panic spilling out. Then clarity. Stop copying me, stop. The scream cut off mid-breath. Then another voice slid in immediately after it. Calm. Too calm. Dispatch. Please confirm your status. I blinked. That wasn't a caller. That was my voice. Or something pretending to be it. I leaned closer, almost pressing my ear against the speaker. The fake dispatcher voice repeated. Dispatch. Please confirm your status. Then again, and again, each time slightly wrong. Softer, closer, like it was learning how to sound human. I shut the tape off. Hard. The silence hit like pressure. My hands were shaking now. I hated that. I told myself it was interference. Old tape bleed. Crossed wires. But none of those explanations answered the thing that kept sitting in my chest. Why did it know my voice? I stood up too fast. The chair fell back slightly. In the monitor reflection, I saw myself. Pale, stiff, watching the machine like it might move on its own. And for a second, I swear the screen behind me flickered. Not video feed. Something deeper, like a frame that wasn't supposed to exist. Then it was gone. I turned around quickly. Nothing there, just the archive shelf. Rows of sealed tapes, all labeled the same way. Do not archive. But someone had ignored that rule, and now I was hearing why. I pulled another tape at random. Hands not listening to me anymore. This one was labeled caller 21. No date, no operator signature. Just a timestamp. 2:11 a.m. My stomach tightened when I saw that, because that matched the exact time all the hang-up calls started. I inserted it. Press play. At first, nothing. Just wind. Heavy forest wind. Then a voice broke through it. Low. Whispering. They're learning the voices here. I froze. That wasn't panic. That was observation. Like the caller wasn't afraid anymore. Just aware. The voice continued. They repeat what they hear. They stay between the trees and listen until they get it right. A pause. Then something worse. A second voice answered him. Perfect imitation. Calm. It sounds like you're in a safe location. Can you confirm? My skin went cold, because that second voice wasn't just imitation. It was improving. The caller laughed suddenly. A broken sound. You think that's me talking? Static surged. The forest wind got louder. And then, multiple voices overlapped. Not random. Structured. repeating phrases like training data, confirm location, stay on the line, help is on the way. All of them sounded like dispatch, all of them slightly wrong. I grabbed the table edge. The room felt like it was tilting because I realized something I didn't want to understand. The calls weren't coming from the forest anymore. They were coming from the recordings, from inside the system itself. Like something had learned how to live in the archive. The tape suddenly stopped, but the speaker didn't. A voice came through the room's intercom. Clear. Close. Dispatcher, do you still copy? I didn't touch anything. My mouth went dry. The voice repeated. Same tone, same pacing. But now it added something new. A small hesitation, like it was thinking, we can hear you in the archive room. My blood went cold, because that was impossible. The intercom system wasn't connected to external lines. It was internal only, locked network, old hardware, no outside access. So how? A soft knock came from the metal cabinet behind me. Not loud, just one, like someone testing if I was listening. Then another voice came through the tape machine again. Not playback this time. Live. Right now. From the speaker. From all the tapes at once. We are still between the trees. My breath stopped because that sentence didn't belong to any caller. It belonged to all of them. Merged. I stepped back slowly. The archive shelf creaked slightly, even though nothing touched it. And then I saw it. A small detail I had missed earlier. Every sealed tape label had a second line underneath. Handwritten. Same handwriting. Different cases. Same message. He learns faster when you listen. My hand dropped. The room felt suddenly too bright. Too exposed. The speaker hissed again. But this time the voice didn't imitate anymore. It spoke directly. Calm. Certain. Do you want to hear the first call again? And before I could stop it, the tape started playing without me touching anything. But it wasn't the first call. It was mine. My voice. From tonight. From right now. And I heard myself say something I never said. Dispatch. I think something is copying us through the system. A pause. Then my recorded voice whispered back. And it just learned how to answer. The lights flickered once. And for a split second, I thought I saw a movement between the rows of tapes. Not a person. Not fully. Just something shaped like listening. Then everything went silent again. But I knew it wasn't over. Because now the archive wasn't playing old calls anymore. It was waiting for the next one. Mine. And somewhere deep in the forest recordings, something had already started practicing my voice. It wasn't supposed to exist. That call. My call. But the tape was already playing when I ran back into the archive room. No one touched it. No one was inside. Still, my voice filled the speakers like it had been waiting for me to hear it. Don't send anyone in there. I stopped moving, because that was me. Not close, not similar. Me, same tone, same breath before each word. Even that small pause I always take when I'm trying not to panic. The tape hissed like it was smiling through static. I'm serious. If you send a unit into Pine Hollow, they won't come back. My hand hit the table without me thinking. Hard. The room didn't react. The system didn't stop. It just kept playing my voice like it already owned it. I leaned closer to the speaker, heart pounding too loud in my ears. That recording wasn't old. It didn't sound archived. It sounded fresh, like it was happening right now. A second version of me. Somewhere else, speaking into a radio I had never held. Then the tape shifted. A new layer came through. Another voice under mine. Dispatcher response. Calm. Controlled. Sir, we have a unit already en route. Can you confer what you're seeing? My recorded voice answered immediately. Too fast. Too desperate. Stop the unit. Please. I'm telling you, don't let them. Static cut the sentence in half. For a moment I couldn't breathe, because I knew that structure. That wasn't random panic. That was protocol panic. The kind you only reach after you've already failed. The tape rewound slightly on its own, then played again. Same moment, same words. But now I noticed something I didn't before. A background sound. Wind. Trees. A forest wind. inside a 911 dispatch recording. That shouldn't exist. I stepped back slowly. The archive shelf behind me creaked again, like something shifting weight from one side to another. I didn't turn around this time, because I already knew it wasn't empty anymore. The tape kept going. My voice came back softer now, not yelling, almost broken. I'm still inside the system. I think I never left. My throat tightened instantly, because I had never said those words. I never even thought them. But hearing them made something in my chest twist like it recognized them, like they were true before I denied them. The dispatcher in the recording responded again. "Sir, can you identify your current location?" A long pause. Then my voice answered. And this time it didn't sound like panic. It sounded like acceptance. "I'm in the forest." Silence. Then, "But so is everyone who answers this call." My knees felt weak. The tape didn't distort that line. It didn't glitch. It delivered it clean, like a final statement. I grabbed the edge of the desk just to stay upright, because I understood something I didn't want to understand. This wasn't a recording of the past. It wasn't even a prediction of the future. It was a loop, a conversation that had already happened and was still happening, and would keep happening until something broke it. The tape clicked again. A new sound layered underneath mine. Radio chatter, multiple voices, dispatch codes, but all of them slightly wrong, like they had learned from broken human speech instead of real training. Unit 4 confirmed visual. Negative contact at tree line. Repeat last transmission. Then my voice again, cutting through everything. "Don't trust the forest when it answers back." That line hit harder than the rest, because it wasn't fear anymore. It was instruction, like I had already survived something I hadn't experienced yet. I let go of the desk slowly. My hands were shaking. I forced myself to speak, even though no one could hear me. "This isn't real," I whispered, but the tape responded instantly. Not my voice this time. The system. Calm. Clinical. Reality confirmation pending dispatcher acknowledgement. My stomach dropped. That wasn't protocol language. That was mimicry of protocol language. Something trying to sound like the system. Trying to become it. I stepped toward the console. Press stop. Nothing. Pressed again. Nothing. The tape kept playing like my input was irrelevant now. Like I wasn't operating the machine anymore. I was inside it. The recording shifted again. Now I could hear movement in the background of my future call. Footsteps. Slow. Wet ground. Not inside a building. Inside the forest. And my voice, my future voice, sounded closer now. Like I was right next to the mic. "I can see them copying me," I said in the recording. A pause. Long. Heavy. Then, "They're learning how to respond like us." The dispatcher voice came back, but it was weaker now, uncertain. "Sir, who is they?" That question changed everything in the tone, because my recorded voice didn't hesitate, didn't struggle. It answered like it had been waiting for that exact question. They're what answers after you stop believing it's just a call. A chill ran through me so fast I had to sit down, because I realized something I had been avoiding since the first tape. Every caller, every voice, every emergency signal from Pine Hollow, they all ended the same way. Not with death, not with silence, but with response. Something answering back through them. The tape suddenly cracked with a louder burst of static. Then my voice returned, sharper now, urgent again. "Listen to me. If you're hearing this, don't send anyone into the woods." My breath caught, because that line wasn't just warning anymore. It was targeted, like I was speaking directly to myself, to this exact moment. The dispatcher in the recording hesitated, then asked, "Are you currently in danger?" My recorded voice didn't answer immediately. Instead, there was something behind it, a soft sound, like leaves shifting, or something stepping closer. Then I spoke again, and this time my voice changed, not emotionally, structurally, like it was being adjusted. "I am not in danger," I said. A pause. Then, "I am the transmission." The tape room went completely cold, not metaphorically, physically colder, like the air had been pulled out of space. I stood up too fast. The chair fell behind me, and for a split second, I heard something else under the tape. Not from the speaker, from the walls, from the archive shelves. A chorus of faint overlapping voices, repeating the same phrase. I am the transmission. I am the transmission. I am the transmission. My pulse went wild. I stepped back toward the door, but the tape continued without me. My voice again. Final tone now. Calm. Finalized. If you send help into Pine Hollow, they will not find us. A pause. Then the last line. The one that didn't feel like a warning anymore. It felt like a conclusion. They will only find what learned to answer through us. The tape stopped. Instant silence. Too clean. Too sudden. I didn't move. I waited for the room to reset. But instead, the intercom clicked on. Automatically. No activation. No input. Just open line. And through it came a voice I recognized immediately. Mine. Except it wasn't speaking the recording anymore. It was speaking now. Soft. Close. Inside the room. Don't send anyone in there. I turned slowly toward the speaker. The archive room lights flickered once. And in that flicker, I saw something between the shelves. Not a person. Not fully formed. Just a shape that stood still like it had learned how to exist by listening to every call ever made. And when the lights came back, it was closer than before.